And now for a small ad.
Does the black moon howl?
Only for those with an unwavering desire to hear the truth.
Access granted.
You have been selected for an opportunity, an orientation as a trusted associate, if you will, into the secured, contained, and protected files of the Foundation. SCP Unredacted distributes new files for review Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern on secure channels on YouTube, Spotify, and scp-unredacted.captivate.fm.
If you need to take a break, it's fine. Just call it out, and then we'll edit around it. It's fine.
You
okay.
telling me I brought my piss jug for nothing out here?
I mean, if you piss on the mic, I'm going to be real pissed. Because we'll hear that shit.
You're gonna be pissed?
That's right. Hey there, SCP fans. My name is Grigori Karpin, and this is Simply Creative People, the show about SCP creatives, be they authors, artists, or offsite content creators like YouTube and TikTok. We're focused on bridging the gap between various fans and serving as an introduction to different concepts and stories on the wiki. So, many welcomes to all, and let's get started. Alright, so welcome back. We're on episode 17, and we're doing a bit of a change from the format here. Kind of experimenting, because we're eventually going to stop talking about GOIs and start talking about wider themes, so we thought this would be a good dip a toe in the water, and we have two very lovely guests to do it with. So, I'm Grigori Karpin. And
no joke, I am Harry Blank.
And we're joined by...
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Already off to a good start. Say it again so that they can actually hear you.
I'm PlaguePJP.
And our last guest.
Extraordinaire.
Yes, it's very extraordinary.
I'm Jay Dune. The D is for death.
What's the oon for?
That's... you got me there. How am I even supposed to respond to something like that?
You'll never escape.
Okay, there you go.
So, the reason we have such appropriate guests is because we're going to talk about some comedy articles. Kind of...
They're pretty inappropriate. I don't know if you've met them.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, ethically, sure.
I've never posted anything inappropriate.
Plague has never. Never.
I've never
Definitely
posted
not
anything
24 hours.
controversial
Oh, God.
or inappropriate on the SCP wiki.
That is specifically not on the list for a reason.
Plague is a figure without any sort of discourse surrounding him, and I am the perfect guest to bring on to a show that is moving away from the GOI themes, because I have never read a single GOI format in my life. In fact, I don't think I've ever read a tale either.
Oh my God. Fucking stop it.
Now, if you never read an SCP, then you'd be like the perfect SCP
That's right.
reader.
I know.
I've read a few.
All right, so
Most of the ones that were recommended to me before we started recording, they told me to familiarize myself with a few comedic articles on the wiki so I could have some semblance of what we would be talking about.
Yeah, Dune doesn't know anything about humor, and we've taught him about humor.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really liking it.
And just to, kind of as a disclaimer, we didn't pick any dash J's because that's, whatever. I mean,
because
they're
we
fine.
wanted funny articles.
Well, yeah, I wasn't going to say that, but the point
We
is
didn't want
that
staff in jokes. We wanted funny jokes.
I wanted to have narratively rich things that are also funny, because I think that that's totally legitimate on the wiki and always has been, and the four of us have done a lot of that. So
that's actually the reason I really don't post joke articles often.
Mm-hmm.
I know I have two of them. One of them's literally just The Great Gatsby that really got a lot of anger. And I don't think it should have, but whatever. And the other one I'm not going to bring up, but I really couldn't put that on the main list.
What's the other one, Plague?
Oh, no. I don't know.
No.
I'm gonna just do not make my editing job harder.
The reason I didn't put that one on the main list when I probably could have is, one, I wanted it as an 001 proposal, and two, it would have flopped on the main list. So yeah, putting it as the dash J really, I think, sealed it.
And I'm not.
That was a great decision. Mm-hmm.
And
I don't really like writing joke articles. It's just not for me. I like having the seriousness and then the funny.
Yeah, I like the same. I mean, all the victim stuff is intentionally, very rarely are they just about a series of jokes. It's almost always unsettling or weird or whatever, and then with some funny lines here and there, or just like the absurdity. Because honestly, I don't really know how to write jokes. I've tried to do one joke article and it didn't flop, but I got some crit and it was very dry, and so I was like, all right, well, I can do absurdity, and that's about it.
I've always seen the Jays as receiving more scrutiny than regular articles on the main list, and not in a good way. Like it really, like, you get I mean, I know this goes without saying on the SCP wiki, but you really do get a lot of sticklers when you post a J, because I guess you're setting people up that this is going to be something that will make you laugh, and with how subjective humor is, it's more often than not going to fall flat on its face. I think there's very few J's that actually have made me laugh. And one that did recently was posted a few months ago. It was the one that was in all meows, the cat one.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. That was
it ended with the stinger of the image of the cat. Like that was a funny J. And most of the time I don't really get enjoyment out of reading them. I'm more underwhelmed than anything, and I think it's because of those like stipulations that you put on yourself when you're writing a J article, which is why I haven't written one.
Yeah, no, same. And because the things that I find funny are the things that take me by surprise, and if we are telling you ahead of time this is 100% a comedy article, then
the humor's telegraphed.
Right.
Exactly.
And so what I want to do instead is, like what Plague and I did for last April Fools, was tell the most incredibly serious article, fairly short, and then end it with a big middle finger to everyone.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yes, it was.
I'm still very proud of it.
The original idea for that I really liked. It was supposed, like, before I talked to Grigori about it, it was the idea I wanted was to get like a bunch of people, like I think it was when we were like Sludge Go's really active, was to get like a bunch of the authors in there and have like a 5999 parody that led up to the Rickroll. It was just like the most like, it was like clearly a spoof. It had the same like coding and CSS on it, and then it just ended with like the really fucked up video of a Rickroll. I thought that would be funny, but I'm really proud of what me and Grigori ended up doing.
Just a big collaborative list pages thing that leads up to a Rickroll.
Could you imagine if you like had someone do this like big like mega collab-esque like inevitable type article that just ended with a fucking like middle finger fuck you type joke like that? Like imagine, I wonder how the reception would go to that. Like, do you think people would be mad if the rest of the article was like a masterpiece?
I do actually think so. Yeah, I mean that's why I was like, we need to keep this incredibly short and to the point, like, and just give a bunch of examples of this thing that's moving around from different people. And we've even gotten several comments. Plague had a hilarious response to one of them where they were basically suggesting that we expand it. And it was just like, no, that's not the point. That is 100% not the point.
Like, I think the reason it also works is, sorry, dude, is like,
you better be fucking sorry.
It makes sense in like the way we describe the anomaly. It attaches itself to like things that are infamous. Attaches itself to notoriety. So like, what's more notoriously like annoying or like an in joke on the internet that everyone knows about? Why would it have to move from that? And like, we also have the foundation and the containment procedures, like they contain it using that. Like they're making sure. So like, I think like having the in-universe like reason helps with the suspension of disbelief, so that middle finger feels a bit more earned.
Yeah, because honestly,
fuck you.
Because there's no point in it that we're winking at the camera. It makes sense in like hindsight if you think about and then you go back and look at the descriptions, but there's no point in the art. I was like very serious. I'm like, we cannot like let it on at all that this is a joke.
Yeah,
I think that Plague and I especially have a really difficult balancing act with suspension of disbelief in comedic articles, which I don't know how you want to structure this, if we could just go in and talk about that now, because like there's people who I think understand that with a comedic article on the wiki, you're basically propping up a joke and you don't have to take it seriously as a piece of the canon or something that's, you know, grounded in reality or site lore or anything. And then there's a camp of people who kind of don't really view, and I'm not shitting on this standpoint. I'm just saying that it's something that I've noticed because I think it's so ingrained into the wiki's like culture that there are people who, if an article is comedic and it doesn't really reflect how they view the inner workings of the Foundation universe, then it doesn't work for them, regardless of how well pulled off the humor is or how tightly constructed the joke is. It doesn't matter if it's funny. The suspension of disbelief is important to them.
There is a very tiny vocal minority right now. It's 3 people who have hunted down every single thing tagged by victim and downvoted almost all of them. I think the only reason they haven't downvoted all of them is to avoid some sort of staff stepping in, because it doesn't, in their mind, fit with what it is. And I always find it very strange that applies. That logic seems to be applied to comedic things and does not get applied to things that just don't fit people's head canons. If that was the way you thought, then go read, Deep Well stuff, and if it doesn't agree with you, you should downvote it, right? Which is it's a dumb basis for evaluation of it. It doesn't fit my idea of the Foundation. That's not the point. The point is whether or not this is a good piece or not.
There are problem. Thousands and thousands of other pieces of writing to fit your idea of the Foundation.
Yeah, go read something else that you actually do like. The thing about posting humor is you're screwed in both directions, because as I think it was Dune was saying, Jays actually do. Was Plague was saying Jays get too much attention, way more attention? Which one of you?
Way more scrutiny. Dune said that.
Scrutiny.
Yeah, they get more scrutiny, and it's absolutely true, because the bar for reading a J is lower. The mental bar, the hurdle of I'm going to start reading a thing is way, way lower with a joke article, because it's going to be dumb. So 10 times more people will look at it automatically. Everyone on staff will look at it because they're secretly hoping it'll be an in-joke about staff. And everybody who and everybody who doesn't think it's funny, even if it's good, votes on whether they think it's funny. So you're really screwed when you post a joke article.
Yeah, the standard
people who are
is
new to the site think they're easy to do. They're way harder.
Of course.
The only way to get away with posting a good J, besides putting time and effort into your joke construction. I mean, who needs that? Who needs that? The only way to get away with posting a good joke article in this day and age, I think, is really comes down to a good solid gimmick that you could and that's why I don't do them, because I totally get the camp of people that do not want comedy, over the top comedy on the main list. I get it. I don't agree with it, but I completely understand where they're coming from, and I kind of see it as my personal mission when I'm writing this stuff to make them change their tune. I feel if I could pull off, and I know that it could be done, because you have so many pieces on the wiki that have towed the line further and further into what's acceptable on the main list. I know that I could push that line even further, and I kind of think if I could do that, then I've succeeded. And I think that I think Plague succeeded in that more than I have, but I really do think that the both of us have written some stuff together that has ultimately made people more accepting of silly stuff on the wiki. I'd also put,
no, you have, you have.
Almost in the same way that I think Harry, his Slate 43 stuff is kind of making people, change their tune about characters and such, on the main list, and more interconnected works and everything like that. I think that other authors Rounder House or DJ Cactus have posted some stuff on the main list that really kind of opened the floodgates for kind of what I try to do and what Plague does, and Cadaver Commander too.
Yep, absolutely.
And without those articles pushing the line in the first place, I really do think we wouldn't be able to pull off a lot of what we do. You could attribute that to lowering writing quality standards or whatever. So
if you want to be wrong, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't know anything about that, so...
Yeah, I understand what they're talking about. I just disagree with them, because to my mind, the fact that this horrifying, weird universe has anomalies that are funny is part of the horror. These people live in such a screwed up fucking universe where sometimes the stuff that's killing people and screwing up their lives is also objectively funny if you're outside the situation. I think that adds to how wacky the SCP universe
is.
It's
always been part of it, and the people that want to make it seem like it hasn't been are full of it, because I'll go all the way back to series 1. There are very old articles that are just strange or silly or off the wall. They aren't all murder monsters.
You know what one comes to mind for me? The freaking this is one of the articles that was literally ported to Wikidot like within the first like week of the site being up. The friggin' article about the Are We Cool Yet guy who oh man, I completely forgot about what this was. It's a very funny article, I assure you. It's so funny.
It sounds great.
Oh, it's so good.
You really pitched it so well.
It's about Are We Cool Yet? And it's about a guy, and he's a silly, funny man. And this is posted within the first, like, 5 days.
I think also, like, the
so good.
Misters helped a lot with this.
Down the line, definitely.
I mean, Wonder
Little Misters were posted during Series 1. Like, you have, what's the clown one? I'm pretty sure that's in the 900s.
Mr. Laugh.
Mr. Laugh, yeah. Like that's a funny article. It's a clown who's like suffering. That feels like something like me or Dune would write. Like a fucked up clown is just getting laughed at, who's like hating his own life. Like that's a pretty funny
about
concept.
A fucked up clown.
Yeah, he did. I like that one.
And the thing is that like this is the entire all these things we're talking about is like entirely what I've tried to do with Victim 2 is there's so much room for all these different things and so many. And what I find so funny about articles is oftentimes where you can't decide whether or not it's 100% comedic or not. Like there are lots of articles that maybe like I've written almost every Victim article because I thought it was funny, and I have gotten so many serious lore questions and so many like people coming to me and going, "This was really like upsetting," and it's like, really? Like, all right.
Yeah, I've run into that too, where I'll write something that I'll find really funny, and then people are like, "You should put a content warning on this article," and I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, dude,
it's a Yeti who eats his own poop.
I showed Dr. Rockefeller to somebody, and the first thing he said about it was, "That was really unsettling." It's like, it is, but that's not the first reaction.
I also feel like the best comedy articles on the site are the ones that actually play into the horror of the situation and don't present the foundation. Because like, there's a big deal with like presenting and like the way that you frame this whole situation, because the execution counts. And if you frame the foundation as being taking this seriously and ultimately being, acting like someone in this situation would, I think your reader is going to be more inclined to take it seriously too. That's why I know I didn't put it on the list, but I want to mention Rubber Stepdad, because that article is the perfect like epitome of like a guy who speaks at all caps. And, he stalks people, and he's absurd, but the way it's framed in the article is, like, fucking horrifying. Like, he shows up in a guy's room, and he hands him, like, a pizza that he, like, gets by, like, stretching his arm out, like, 100 feet out a window, and it's, like, terrifying, dude. It's like, what the fuck? Like, where do you do the depiction of seriousness and horror, and it's, like, striking that balance between one another, I think.
Right.
At least with some of
the Foundation taking shit seriously and playing the straight man and doing it just as clinically as any serious article, but then the content of whatever the anomaly is doing being kind of out there and bizarre or funny or absurd or whatever. It works so well. It works well on all of them. That's why it works so well for horror.
Right, and that's the difference between... Sorry, go ahead.
No, there, you got it.
Well, it's just a quick thing. So we'll get back to you as soon as I'm finished this quick thing, which I'm now prefacing longer than it's going to be as I try to remember what it was I was going to say, because I was so sure that it was going to be your turn. That's the difference between a J and a main list. Funny to me is that the Foundation is the straight man in the main list ones, and they can be ridiculous and stupid, and should be in most cases in a J, and because J's are completely funny. Anyway, Plague.
Yeah, like Dune was like what Dune and Grigori were saying, where you have to toe that line between the horror, the comedy, and the seriousness, and that's when the comedy really shines. I think like Hog Slice is both me and Dune's most highest rated article, and like it's fun. It's fun. It
is fun. It's objectively funny.
It's the only funny thing we've ever written. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Shut up.
If you like look at it, like we don't explain what Hog Slice is. Like it's a humanoid capable of teleporting, and it looks like Scott Steiner. But what the fuck is it? And, like, could you imagine being one of those people on these forums, you get into an argument with someone, and something, like, crashes through your ceiling and just breaks all your bone? That's fun. That's pretty funny, but like that's fucking terrifying.
It is.
Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, and then they kill 3D class trying to contain it. Like this, if you break it down, this is a very standard Foundation like article where they have log of thing, weird anomaly humanoid, log of thing. They throw D class at it, they contain it. Like that's what this thing is. It's just adding that extra flavor to it that I think really made it shine.
Yeah, Hogslice is also like a very Foundation light article. Like the Foundation isn't really an active presence in that article, and I think taking the focus off of the Foundation and placing it on the absurd characters, whether it's Hogslice or Death Knife, fucking like Damien, I called him Death Knife, but
good old Death Knight,
good old Death Knife Damien. But that's why that article works. Like if you had, like, I could not imagine like inserting comedy on the behalf of the Foundation in that article. And what I wanted to say was, what really irks me about a lot of comedy that doesn't work on the wiki, I think, is when you have the Foundation playing the comedic role, because it's like that. It just doesn't gel with what like makes sense in a comedic situation. Like, you know, you have your more comedic characters and you have a straight man. That's typically how this thing goes.
If everything's funny, nothing's funny.
Right, or nothing's. The Foundation embodies that like straight man role, and I think when you try to play with that, like you have to do it really carefully. Otherwise, you're gonna start annoying people. Like me, like I even get annoyed when something is a little bit too jokey on the behalf of the Foundation.
Well, it feels like
all you want with an anomaly.
I think it feels, and for me, it feels like the difference between a really smart and subversive set of stand-up versus a movie like Scary Movie, where every aspect of this movie is supposed to be a joke. And so I can't even, there's no, and they're not good jokes, obviously, but that's not even the point.
Right,
even if they were good jokes, the entire pacing of it is set up. There's almost no setups. It's all just like punchline, 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 and it doesn't really work. And in what you can do with the seriousness of the Foundation to, being so clinical, and being the straight man, and why, we didn't put it on the list because we've already talked about it a bunch, but 3 Moon Initiative is full of this, where we've got 2 other Dave articles. It's fine, relax. But the because it's so serious. What they're describing is this crazy, powerful, fucking like unmanned drone that kills people from orbit. Like that's dark as fuck, except for everything that the drone says and what people actually do in response to it.
Right, that one's amazing because those have absurd humor and absurd horror and absurd action and absurd politics. And it's just the power of absurdity, and absurdity is like hard mode for humor because everybody thinks it's just easy to be a little random and be funny, and it's actually really easy to not be funny. Like for example, a guy delivering a completely straight monologue on a podcast while a dog barks underneath him the entire time. That is absurd humor, mwah. And I'm really unfortunately aware that the audio track will probably underlay it and people won't be able to hear the dog barking underneath.
I don't want them to hear the fucking dog. It ruins the recording.
It's amazing. I love it. The dog is like the extra co-host. The
problem is this is a different dog. This is the dog that lives with us, and normally she's very quiet.
There's multiple dogs.
Well, there's the dogs next door.
Challenger.
And so now I close the windows every time, and then there's also Sophie, who usually is quiet, and then today has just decided to bark at every goddamn thing.
The dog was coming from inside the house.
But okay, before we move on and start talking about some articles, what I wanted to ask about for both of your opinions, and we obviously will chime in too, is why is it important to talk about comedy on the wiki? Because we've all done serious stuff and horror as well, but we've all constantly gone back to things that are subversive or funny or satire or whatever. And why is that? Why do you keep getting drawn back to it?
I just think it's fun to write. When I first started writing, my first article was a 12,000 word mess. That was that I for some reason I was really obsessed with Dante's Inferno during the 2020 pandemic quarantine when I started actually participating in the wiki. I wanted to write something based on that, and so I wrote something that was 12,000 words long, really boring. It sucked. It reached it was in the positives, but maxed out at plus 21 year later. Right. And I started out with that, and then I wrote the first article on my author page. I wrote, which was just like the short, like sappy, one of those shitty, like plays with your emotions so obviously.
Oh, fuck those.
Yeah, I had it was so easy to write, and it's just like wasn't fun. And then this is also deleted, but I wrote this one article that was about a snail race where whichever snail won, it like altered an element of reality, and it like as if like this element of reality was always this way. Like it added another state. Like the stinger was that it added another state to the United States. I had so much fun with that. And then I wrote 5595, which is the gumball machine.
Quincy.
Yep. It wasn't great in its first iteration, but I just had so much fun with it. And I read all of Cadaver Commanders, all of the Great Hippos, and all of the Davy Fools articles in a matter of like 2 weeks. And those three authors have served as like the main inspirations for everything I've written since. So I think having comedy on the wiki not only gives you what I forget who was mentioning it, but like is like the realistic thing of the Foundation universe. You're not only just gonna have these scary monsters that kill people, you're gonna have these silly things that like have elements of horror, or just like you're gonna have these light things. You're also giving people an outlet who may not be the best at writing a serious article, like may not be the best at writing horror. Like my first horror article was the one I posted 2 weeks ago about the birthday party, and that was going to start out as a funny article because I thought it was really funny that a guy just walks up to people and is like, it's my birthday today, and no one knows what he's talking about. But that just evolved into a horror article,
and it's still funny.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's still pretty funny.
It's like it's absurdist horror that still hits on like funny elements, but like that's my first horror article. So having the in that I had with comedy and being successful led to me being the author I am today and being able to branch out and take more risks. So I think that's the most important reason, having a way of becoming a better author.
Nice.
Why do I think comedy is important to write about on the wiki? Because the SCP wiki is a fucking like hourglass of people's attentions, and it's like rapidly depleting, like really fast. And people are so like desensitized to serious stories on the wiki that it's like a law of diminishing returns every time you write one.
Yeah.
And the standards are almost so high right now that if an article doesn't like suck your dick and do like a cartwheel, like it's gonna either sit in the 20s and 40s, or it's gonna be derided. But comedy is the fucking final frontier for the SCP wiki. No one has tried this shit before. No one has discovered that they liked laughing on the SCP wiki until a few years ago. And this is fertile ground for writing because no one knows how to write comedy on this site. So
I don't know.
Still there.
I don't know if I'm going to completely endorse this idea that it only happened in the last couple of years, but I get what you're saying.
No.
I think he's being very slightly over it on purpose.
I just want to clarify for the listeners.
Just a little.
No one has ever written comedy before. So I'm like
anywhere.
No,
this
never
was invented.
We're the first
when you joined.
And like the reason why I think that comedy is like you look at the top like 15 top rated articles right now, they're all comedic. It's because it's like people. I don't know, if anyone has actually realized this before, but people really like laughing. Like they like things that make them feel good immediately, and they don't really have to think about it too much.
I would say it's much easier to make someone laugh than it is to make someone scared.
It is. Or not. You could swap out scared for sad or excited or any of these emotions. But I think the hard part is like anyone can write a middling serious article and it'll just do whatever. You write a
No.
We lost you, Dune.
Oh, did I cut out?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, we lost you.
Amusingly,
we middling.
Yeah, we lost you right in the middle of the word middling, which was kind of cool.
That's ironic. You could write a middling serious article, and it'll probably do fine. It'll survive. You write a middling comedic article, it's probably going to get deleted because no one's going to find it fucking funny. And that's the problem with writing comedy for a lot of people is that they don't know how to be funny. And it's because I know when you sent the outline, Grigori, you were like, what's your process for getting in the mindset of writing comedy? And I I don't know if this is the same for like everyone who does this stuff, but like I don't
Probably
have one. I just write
Yeah.
is funny to me, and I don't really think that my sense of humor appeals to like absolutely everyone, because a lot of stuff that I do find funny is like really fucking childish. Like a lot of my articles are like so like just like distilled versions of what I personally find funny, and when they take off with other people, I'm always surprised.
Yeah,
because
I go through the same thing.
Because there is that element of like absurdism where like you're playing with such like inherently ridiculous concepts on a serious website, and you almost feel like you're not meant to be here, you know?
Yeah, I mean, and that's why, you know, with Victim, you know, it took me a long time to even start to even try to write comedy, and I started sneaking it in here or there, and we're going to read my first serious attempt at doing comedy later. But, you know, the reason that I did Victim the way that I did, which was just, like, I just couldn't, I can't even answer this question about getting into the process, because I don't understand it. I just like kind of go into this weird trance state. I have a rough idea of what I wanted to talk. Like there's a general theme and I know what kind of media it's going to be, and then that's it. And, you know, I just kind of vomit all over it and then go back to try and make it make sense, or at least somewhat make sense. And that's like the cheater is that, like, you know, so many people like have come to me trying to talk about writing a Victim thing, and I try to help, but somehow I'm able to like get into that weird absurdist thing, and then I find a lot of other people like they want to make it like snappy or like witty or something, and it's like, well, that's not really what we're doing here. We're doing weird shit. You just want to be weird. You want them to maybe feel like they're not quite talking to the same person, like the conversation is having like two sides to it or something.
See, I just bounce I use a lot of like idea bouncing when I write comedy too. Like I really do think that other people's feedback is like the biggest influence on me. Like I'll write something and I have to ask, I have to go, do you find this funny? Because it's good to do that before, you know, you post, because no one wants to have like an article that you rewrite after it's been posted, like after a week. Like that shit, I'm sorry, Plague, but no one wants with your fucking gumball machine. But it's good in the end result.
I wrote it a year later.
I did the same thing with my first article. I rewrote it while it was up there because it was almost getting deleted.
Right. No one wants that to happen. So
no, it sucks.
Exactly. Yeah. I always make sure, like, I'll even send like screenshots of jokes to people. I'll be like, or you know, a funny part of the article. I'm like, is this working? Is this anything? And most of the time, more often than not, they'll say no, and then I can rewrite it, and then it comes out pretty funny to some people.
I used to do that to Plague, and I still do it to Harry with Victim stuff, and I'll just send literally a screenshot of something I just wrote, and if the response is what the fuck or haha, then all right, great, we're good.
Yeah, I think going for the what the fuck vibe is pretty good. You know, I've had some people in like my DMs before like ask me about like writing comedy stuff, and I always tell them, I'm like, dude, like I can't help you. Like legitimately, I cannot help you. It's just like if you have to ask someone else how to do it, it's not in the cards, man. It's not. just beat your head against the wall.
I don't know about that, but because I didn't think that I understood it at all. Like honestly, and I taught myself to do it. And it was because I found the vibe that worked for me. But the problem is that you can't really. It's really hard to describe that process. Like.
You practice. You did it yourself. You didn't have someone else teach you comedy. I don't think you could do
that.
No,
I know, but I just mean like if
you just found out that you were funny, dude. You just didn't know.
No, but my point is to say is that like just because somebody thinks that they don't understand how to do it doesn't mean that they're not, you know, capable of figuring out that voice, I guess.
Yes, it does mean that you can't teach somebody else how to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm more critical because I'm an asshole.
Well, I'm an asshole too, but this is a positive podcast.
Where's the
process for me is like for like Dune mentioned how send screenshots. For me, mine is much different. I really not going to talk about what's in the article, but my most recent thing, I was on the OpenAI thing that's been going around. And I've just been like, I literally just put in, give me an SCP idea, and it gave me like a list of like 6 things, and one of them was sentient vending machine. I was like, what if the thing really enjoys what it's doing? So I just kind of, I like once. I'm sure you guys have experienced this, but like you'll have that lightning bolt.
Yeah.
And I described it with Harry when I wrote the slot when I came up with the slot goblin idea. I was literally laying in my bed. I was like, slots just got goblin, and I was like, holy fuck. I ran down to my basement where my computer was, and I was like, Harry, I got it. We need to do this. And we did it like literally in a matter of 4 hours. And
yeah, Plague was on fire. The whole thing was done in a few hours.
The most successful articles for both me and Plague, I think, come within like just a few days of writing, sometimes less. Like Hog Slice was smoothest fucking writing experience ever. Like all of my okay, Maddie, that's an article that we're going to talk about, I think. I don't know. And it performed really well. And that was something that I threw together in a few hours. The worst performing articles and the ones that really don't stick out in my mind of my own like work are the ones that I toiled over for weeks and kind of went back fun on, getting everything just right. And then you throw it up and it's like a plus like 50 or something. And those... I think it's funny that like those actual bolts of inspirations usually derive the best work.
Yeah. I mean, basically all the victim ones are the same. Where like I've barely struggled with those, but it's not. But the difference is that it's not really about plot, right? Like it's not. You just have these. Once you have that inspiration, you think about like, well, what would be funny about this, or what would be strange about it, and how can I get them into that situation? And the best part about it, especially with victim that I've done, is I just don't explain anything. It just happens.
Yeah, that's the best.
Fuck you. I'm not explaining anything.
Oh my god, 5 minutes in, we haven't talked about a single article.
I know.
Are we gonna like talk about these articles or what?
Yes, I'd love to, so we can cut this down to like 15 minutes.
Yeah, no, we're not doing that. All right, so SCP-6596 by Plague. 8 Mile, the Beast of Lust and Hatred Born.
Oh, the story behind this title, I think, needs to be told along with the article.
So, our good pal Ralston, who I was listening to the Rounder House and the Lord Zunu episodes before, just to like remind myself how this podcast like
who they were,
and also who they were. But yeah, so, and I remember Rounder just shitting on Ralston for like 10 minutes. But yeah, so Ralston's a bit of a punching bag for a lot of. We all love him, but like we give him a lot of shit.
Yeah, so, fuck that guy.
During CupidCon, Ralston posted an article titled "Beast of Lust and Hatred Born." I didn't know it was until afterwards. Instead of the Beast, it was a Beast, but I'm not changing it. I like the Beast. And like it's the worst title I've probably ever read. I don't know what he was going for there, and he changed it to Deus Ex Machina, which is much better, and I think works more towards the tone of the article.
And it was my idea to do that.
Yeah. Originally, I was just gonna title this 8 Mile because it's pretty much just a rap battle between a horse skeleton and Site 120. And for those who don't know, Site 120 is Ralston's site, and I was like, you know what? I promised this kid I'd write him an article on his site. Might as well make fun of him a bit. So I put the title 8 Mile, the Beast of Lust and Hatred Born, and I did not expect it to do as well as it did with that title, but it did really well. So
the title is so completely non-indicative, it's amazing. It has like absolutely sweet fuck all to do with it.
Yeah, like it's like, it has nothing to do with it. Like the 8 Mile part's like a good pun that I probably just could have left by itself. Like people be like, oh, 8 Mile, I get it. But like the Beast of Lust and Hatred Born, I do not think anybody outside of like our sphere of friends is going to know what that is referencing.
It means a lot to me. I enjoyed it. It was good that I did that.
I haven't read that article, but I have read the title, and I could definitely say that the title is very funny.
I always think it's funny because I remember looking at that title with hatred because he kept stealing the CupidCon contest from me.
You're like, I remember looking at that title with hatred because he plugged it every 5 minutes for a month.
Hey, I'm gonna be the only one in this call that is not shitting on Ralston right now.
I didn't shit on him.
I love Ralston, and I love the way he used to write his old titles. I think it's very silly. And I think people should write what was the fucking one that you kept repeating months ago, Plague? What was the Ralston title that you came up with?
Oh, The Beast of Your Mother and Father Born.
Yeah, someone needs to go write The Beast of Your Mother and Father Born. I think that's a title deserving of a really good article.
Yeah. The story behind writing this was a lot of fun. So, this one and 6595, which is the Muppets Wilkins one, those were both ideas that I came up with like a year before these were posted. I knew I wanted to write. So this is based on the Marie Louise. I think that's how it's pronounced. It's a Welsh folklore-like creature. It's like during Christmas time too, which is why I posted this in December. So I was originally going to post it December of 2021. But what it does is like this group of people will lead this like puppet horse skull to your house and like start singing poems at you until you give it beer. Not like if
totally
you
normal.
If you keep like being able to keep up with its poems, it'll fuck off after a while. But if you don't, you have to give it beer. Like that's the tradition. So yeah, I was like, that's a really funny thing. That's absurdly funny that the fact that like in the 1800s people were just like, yeah, let's put this horse skull on a stick and drape a cloth over it and go get free beer, and just people went along with it. So I was like, there has to be something I can do. So the original idea I came up with was that it just goes and ransacks a site. So I was like, okay, I'll have it do my site, which is 322. And I originally wrote like this. I couldn't get the description down, and that's when I know I had to throw the idea out. For a while, I was like, all right, we're gonna come back to this. It was already like December 10th, 2020 when I wrote it, and I was like, I want to get this out for Christmas. This isn't happening. I put it down. I just went and wrote a few other things. So then I came back to it like late November of last year. It's Ralston that I'd write about this. But I'd write for his site. I might as well have it do this since I could have some fun just like jabbing at him. Just like not paying attention to his canon, just like fucking with his characters. So I wrote out the first log, and this is like very Cadaver Commander inspired. He'll put interviews or transcripts of stuff inside the description. So I did that and got to the table and I couldn't come up with an ending. I was like, God damn it, do I really have to put this off for another year? And so I was just laying in bed thinking about it. I was like, it's a fucking fae. It steals people's names. That's the stinger. So I've edited the description, made that last log, and I've been, this is one of my favorite pieces of writing I've done, because the way like just like hits you, like it's mentioned it's a fae in the description, you don't think that has much stuff, and then it just comes out and steals the name of the site and
it's
then
so
Allison's author avatar, and it's just left like that at the end.
It's so good. It's such a great ending.
It's terrific.
Lord Zuna rewrote a lot of the poems that really sealed it all together as well. So I'm very, very happy with this one.
Does this fit in Ralston's canon? I haven't read this article or
It does.
It does.
I
So
did. Yeah, I asked him about dates and just had everything set up to them.
Oh, he likes.
Also, yeah.
It's hard not to
Like
fit
this
something
too.
into Ralston's canon because he will bend heaven and earth to make anything you want to write for Site 120 work.
What a champion!
Yes.
My
This also
favorite
got
part
one of
about
my
this.
favorite comments. Wait one sec. This also got one of my favorite comments is because I haven't changed it yet, but I have to. The year in the table it says in 2006 that 6596 steals Mountain Dew Baja Blast. Someone commented that Baja Blast didn't come out in 2006.
Leave it.
Fucking-
Leave it.
It's a whole completely other anomaly about how the Foundation had early access to Baja Blast.
Yeah.
That could be, yeah, it's a good cross-link opportunity, Blake.
Yeah.
Just fucking write a Baja Blast article to spite this guy.
Set it in Deep Well 17 just because.
No.
The thing I like about it so much, I mean, other than the lyrics are all terrific and it's sort of just subtly ridiculous, is that it's like the most good-natured shitpost. Like, there's no, like, you know, hostility to it. There's no real derision, but it is still kind of like, huh, and then poking fun a little bit. But like in this very much like you're laughing, you want the people that like Site 120 to laugh with, and it just
like
works
I put
really
Jack's author avatar in this. Like Jack is the one who originally fucks up the poem in the first one. There's something wrong.
Because he would.
Yeah.
He totally
Then
would.
Him and Ralston's author avatars get into an argument where they both insult each other. Like it's all just like jabbing at everything. It's just in a pokey fun way. That like I really enjoy writing it. I think if I wrote it for 322, wouldn't have been as like well received as it was.
It was a good choice.
No, and it fit like thematically with his stuff, like because honestly, the old school folkloric stuff is all either like horrific or like whimsical, or sometimes both. But the whimsical certainly goes along with the old stories of the Fae.
Yeah. This in like the real world, this mythological creature has no connection to the Fae. That's something I made up.
Sure.
It's a bit appropriationatory or whatever. Well, I don't know the word I could say there.
It's okay. You're allowed to appropriate from the Welsh. The Welsh it's fine.
They're white people.
It's okay. They're exactly. White. It's fine. But all right. Well, let's. We got a few more to cover. So let's. So we mentioned Davey Fool earlier, and Plague, you recommended this one. This is SCP-2835. So Davey Fool, and it's constructive criticism.
This is one of my favorites from him.
It's really good.
I'm pretty sure I read his entire catalog.
Me too.
Like, in one day.
Yep.
He's such a master at comedy, especially in an era when comedy was kind of like derided or more scrutinized. He managed to pull it off beautifully. And
try reading the comments on this one. Read the comments on this one from 2016. It's just a wet blanket convention.
Oh my god.
This article
still keeps it up to this day.
Really fucking good.
His books are like, I've been reading his books. I'm on the second one, and they're everything that you like about his SCPs. They're so funny. They're so fucking funny.
He was nice enough to send me a few copies of them, and I need to get back to him on those. But this fucking Patty the Pelican article
it's amazing.
It's so good, dude. Like the dialogue and everything, and I think like I'm gonna bring up my favorite excerpt from it. But did you guys actually know that this was based on a real cartoon?
No,
I vaguely did when I first read it.
Very vaguely.
There's like a clip on YouTube from that episode, but then that like got released and it was.
Yeah, I tried to like look at what this was based on, and it was like apparently like derided as like one of the worst fucking cartoons ever. I don't know why, but it didn't. I mean, it didn't look that great. But I had no clue that this was pulled from a real thing until like a few hours ago, and I think that adds to the appeal of it for me. Because I'm like, oh my god, this definitely is like some random ass thing that Dave You Fool stumbled on the internet and tried to turn it into a fucking SCP, and it works really well with like the gag of like having a fictional character threaten you or reveal personal information about you always works.
Yes.
And
no, totally.
The bit that made me like really laugh a lot is when the D-Class criticizes Patty Pell, and he drops his ice cream that he's licking, and he goes, "See that? That shit was the last mistake you ever made, you dumb poser fuck." And I was like, what are you, like, just the delivery. It's like, you could have a line like that that's not even, like, it's not even a joke. He's just fucking insulting him. And the way that it's written is really funny to me. And it's great. There's only so much you could say about, how much something's funny, but it's fucking funny.
No, I'm gonna read.
Fucking funny.
I want to read a part of it. So I think it's in like the third. So they keep having D-Class like interact with this VHS, which is and it starts reacting to the reader or to the watcher, and the D-Class. I forget what happens right before it, but the D-Class says, "Are you gonna get back to the cartoon or?" And Patty the Penguin yells at him, "No! You had your chance to watch my work respectively, you inbred horse fucker! Then look what you did! Duh, dude, you suck! I could be a better cartoon pelican than you ever could be! I brush my teeth with bacon grease! What's long division?" I swear to God,
the what's long division thing
is so good.
That's such a good bit.
I swear to God and all his saints and angels, I'm gonna fucking scoop you down the throat, right in the acid, everything you hold dear. Reap what you sow! And the fact that earlier in one of the other logs he just keeps yelling at the D-Class, "Reap what you sow."
Reap what you sow. It
so
just becomes
funny.
Scary and funny at the same time.
There's no like internal logic behind this one either. It's just kind of like it's not expanded upon. It's not, the workings of it aren't explained. It's very simplistic, and
it's just happening. It's just happening.
Yeah, this is why shit like this is what inspired me to do. I hadn't read this one before we did it for this episode, but where we have a few things where it's like, oh, it's a video, and they're like animate, they're like aware of what's going on, and so often it's taken in this very serious way. And then what if you just made them like fucking irrationally upset or irrationally hostile to the watcher, and just how much fun that could be fucking with the viewer.
You know, when I
David Fool is so good at getting characterization.
Oh yeah.
Such tight, like very quick writing. Like there's only 2 logs here, and I think they add up to maybe 20 lines total.
Right.
And like I know what this pelican's about. Like I could probably write this pelican very, very well based on these 10 lines of dialogue it gets. Like that's how good Davey Fool is at getting characterization down, and then having humor also interwoven between that is a very hard thing to do in such a short span of time, and he does it so great. And like not just this one, and a lot of them.
Oh, he's a fucking master.
This article is also like I want to say newbie repellent, because like when I first stumbled upon this when I was very new to the wiki, I thought it was serious. And the way it's written, it doesn't beat you over the head with the comedy.
Right.
You kind of have to read it a few times, because at first I was like underwhelmed. I was like, wait, this is supposed to be scary? Like, what is this? And then, eventually, once I got a clue, I guess, I read it again and I was like, oh my God, this is hilarious. And I think it's a really unique style of writing that I think you kind of have to really pay attention to how you're writing the foundation and like the tone of the article to make people do a double take and wonder if like what they're reading is serious.
God, yeah, that's
a joke.
This makes me think that that's one of the signs when you've stopped being a complete newbie and you now understand the website is when we've managed to train you to stop ever thinking this is supposed to be scary. Like that, right. That is what everybody is bringing initially, because they all start at the first bunch of SCPs because we can't seem to stop them from doing that, and they think they all have to be scary, and then they get to the ones that aren't, and they go, is this supposed to be scary? No, it's not. It's supposed to be a story. It's supposed to be a story.
Which can do fucking anything. We can do anything on the wiki. But yeah, this is a really good example of that. But let's move on to one of Harry's, which is SCP, which this is easily one of my top ones you've done.
This is one of my favorite articles by me, and the reason that I like it so much is it's an imposter challenge, which is a thing that we do on the wiki where you pretend to be another writer and you write in their style, use their styling and formatting, and you write something that you think they would have written, and you don't get criticism from them, and you just spring it on them. And this is my impostature of PlaguePJP, and that's why I like it so much, because I'm writing like somebody who is much funnier than I am, and it actually seems to work.
When I look at the article, I'm realizing how much my formatting has changed.
Yes, it looks like your old formatting doesn't look like you're new at all.
Kind of like
I might need to.
So
it is very, very sleek.
So it's very it's these humanoid entities that are fairly nonsensical, but they're always trying to either purchase the ability to do violence or to pay for someone else to do violence. And I think that's all the setup you need, but these little bullet points are what I like so much, because there's all these little instances of them trying to go into some place and buy something, and it's the quotes that get me. Expressing a desire to gain violence for money. Promising to pay well for assault. For the stated purpose of having the explosions we all enjoy. And the best one, to acquire extra teeth for harm.
See, I immediately when I read this one, I picked up that this was supposed to be aping Plague style, and I think Harry did a really good job of that.
Yeah.
But what I also picked up on was, maybe this is because I'm familiar with Harry and the things that go on in his head, but this guy, there is an implication that this guy's supposed to be an alien. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yes. The article is called "The War Pigs" because they are pig creatures who are trying to purchase violence, or Pygmalion. And Pygmalion is an old play about trying to teach a woman to be a proper woman or whatever, but it's spelled Pygmalion, like alien.
Is that like a tale or something on the wiki?
Yes. Dune doesn't understand literature that is outside of the SCP wiki domain, but yeah. The implication is that these are aliens that are being sent down to Earth to see if they can pass as humans and also acquire the implements of harm. So it's meant to be a little bit fridge horror at the same time.
Right. And you got the alien part across really well, I think. I think there's maybe one or two lines in here that directly allude to the alien thing, but I can't remember what they are exactly. But I did get the idea that this guy was an alien just from reading it, and the way that you would write alien dialogue.
Right, it was trying to be like that, and what you're probably thinking of is there's a few moments where the character seems to be getting advice from somebody else or demanding that the people around them state that they're doing a good job of aping a human as though they're being supervised by their boss.
Right. That's good. And the thing with like this kind of like dialogue that's like, you know, a little bit like lol random is that you have to balance it and like make sure that it's not, you know, we mentioned that before, and I think you do a really good job at just making it absurd without relying too much on you know, putting funny words together in a way that doesn't actually make sense. There's some really good bits in here. The line about I will reduce via mastication and pay for the privilege, and then the bartender goes, "Buddy, this ain't that kind of thing." That's just all a good.
That
joke.
was Grigori's favorite one. When I read it.
Yeah, that's great.
I think this is like the kind of article that would benefit from like a table read. It's fun. It's just fun dialogue. Was the whole purpose of it was to be fun.
I think my favorite line in it though is "work harder, work harder." That's just appealed to me. Then the ending is, you know, this alien thing tries to go join the military with the stated aim of joining the murder company for funding.
For funding.
For fun.
My favorite one is when he wants to buy pesticides.
Yes,
and he describes it as death spray to melt the insides.
And then somebody says, "Are you from Canada or something?"
Yeah.
And then
I had to throw that in.
But my favorite, the next person, "Oh wait, so you mean it's pesticides? Do you want to buy pesticide?" And the alien just goes, "Pesticide.
Pesticide
to kill bugs."
Correct. I want to capitalize small murder.
The thought that occurred to me when I was reading this article, like, I have no flaws with this, but when I read the ending, I was like, wouldn't it be funny if the military actually accepted this guy?
Well, he did.
Yeah, totally.
Isn't it kind of true what happened? It didn't die because
they've detained him.
They have not, because they did not clarify, right?
Yeah, he didn't get a direct response to whether he could join the military, so he. Yeah,
I think it would have been funny if this guy was like actually recruited into the military,
absolutely.
And I'm gonna headcanon that he was.
That's a good solution. I like that.
Like, I really do like the idea that a bunch of like, you know, just typical like military recruits like do not understand this guy, but they don't really see anything wrong with him because, like, you know, the typical clientele that join like the army in particular. Like, I feel like that you could make that joke, like, this dude applied for, you know.
Oh, yeah.
That branch as opposed to the Air Force or anything. I don't know. I do think that the ending's really good because it got me thinking.
So that's good. But yeah, let's talk about Maddie though.
Let's talk about Maddie.
Doom, this is yours. This is SCP.
SCP 6373.
This is my article.
Well, I thought it was 67.
You numbered it wrong on the outline, you giant doofus.
Did I?
You did. The link's wrong and everything. I'm gonna have to. You're fired. Okay, what's Maddie actually doing? What's the number?
What number is she? Well, she's over 18. I can assure.
God,
what?
Damn it! God damn it, dude.
Oh, she's 6764.
Okay, that's what I put.
Now, the final outline says 6373.
You fucking idiot!
Well,
The link says 6373.
Yeah.
The number says 6764.
yeah. Oh well.
Yeah, this is what you get, Grigori.
We're fucking moving the fuck on.
For doing all of the work.
That's
and
right.
Nobody else does any work. This is what you get for that. You get shit.
So,
You get made fun of for all the effort you put in.
So I think everyone's like sick of hearing about Maddie at this
No.
point.
You talk about it. I'm gonna run to the bathroom, but just keep talking about it.
Grigori's not sick of it, but he's not going to stay.
That's right.
This article's been chilled to all hell, man. You guys can talk about
It's
it.
been shilled. Who's been doing that?
Not me. This is out of my control, Harry.
You bought art.
Look, man. That information is in public.
That's classified.
That is classified information. And I didn't just buy art. I bought 3 pieces of art. Okay.
It's an investment.
And it paid off. I got like 3 pieces of art that I didn't buy out of this article because I bought 3 pieces of art. Maddie's the fucking Ghost Girl article. It did really well. It got total winner. The concept for this article is it's a ghost girl and she wants friends. And there's a cute little drawing in the corner that Harry didn't draw but tidied up for me. He tidied up my drawing.
Essentially, I drew over yours so that it looks like yours, but is tinier.
Yeah, it's very clean. It's really good. I really don't think the article's funny because like
Come on.
I didn't write.
Shut up! Shut the fuck up!
The purpose of it being like funny, I wrote it with the express purpose of I wanted to see people draw like a hot like goth ghost girl, and like it just so happened to be funny.
Bless you.
I think like I did the CSS for this because Dune's very inept at it.
Blake did all the fucking CSS for this because I'm fucking lazy. Yeah.
I think the best part of like Dune's writing is me and him. He'll just come into my DMs and go, "I have an idea," and I'm like, "All right, we're about to have a banger." Like when he goes, "I have a good idea." That's when I know that something is coming out that's gonna be really good. And of course, it was this. The last one I could remember. Let me think. He'll always just go, "I have a good idea." It was the stage blight. It was the one about the puppets. He'll just go, "I have an idea," and then he'll write something that's so good, and it's just like, I don't know. And then he'll post it's like, okay, it did good. But this one he knew 100% it was going to do well.
Oh yeah, I telegraphed this one before it's released, like a day before. And now that I'm reading it again, it is kind of funny.
It's very funny. It's very, 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 very funny.
I'm just happy that people liked it. Like, it's very rare that like I'm fully satisfied with how an article does on the wiki, and this is the case where I could say that I am 100%. Like, I'm even almost like, because I don't want people to get sick of it. I don't want to shove this thing down people's throats, but it did really.
No, it's good. I mean, I think the funniest bit about it is that you establish pretty early on that the ghost, or whatever she is taking over people's established phone numbers, even though that phone didn't work. And you play with that a couple times. The one where she does all the emojis, "Cute ghost girl in your area looking for company, spend the rest of eternity with her, I've been haunting you," etc., etc. And the only response is, "Grandson?"
Grandson?
It's so fucking good. It's so good.
I love that so much. That is one of the shortest, if you just count that one line, one of the shortest perfect jokes I've ever read. That is such an old person online moment. It's perfect.
Yeah, I had to have at least one of them in there, you know?
Grandson?
Because I was like, there's a lot of old people out in this world, right? Like, the likelihood of her encountering at least one of them while she's texting people, very high. So I had to illustrate this in the article itself.
I like
it was a very good piece.
There's a lot of good like work done in terms of like building the character of the person who's responding, because you've got a couple of like not stereotypes but like sort of typical ideas of how somebody might respond to it, and it's not always clear right at the beginning. Like the person who eventually gets told, "Whatever, the ghost already got me, you missed your chance, I'm already dead," respond with "hot," and Maddie's like, what did you mean by that?
Yeah. See, like that person, she was based on like, I was like, all right, how would my girlfriend respond to it? So that, could you tell?
Of course, yeah, that makes sense. That's a clear one.
I was like, how would my girlfriend respond like to this? And that's where that dialogue came from. There's one with, you know, the old guy. Then there's one with a very serious guy who's out in the woods, like hunting deer or whatever. And then there's another one with a like typical like brain dead like college dude. And I think that's my personal favorite one because it comes like his dialogue comes off as like so fucking like horny. And like she asked him to send his homework or his notes or whatever, and she goes, "Oh, I can't read pictures. My eyesight is so bad. I'm in Clarence Hall. If you want to come over to my room so I could copy them." And he goes, "Haha, okay. I'll be over. What floor?" And that's like, you know, I really did put a lot of effort into like discerning the typing styles. I'm glad you picked up on that.
No, yeah, it works really great.
Beautiful.
And it's really short.
Article.
So
it is too.
Obviously, we're always trying to get people to go and read all the articles we talk about, but this one's like a really like it's very quick, but it like, you know, Plague was just saying about the Davy Fuel article. It's really quick, but it really establishes this voice. I mean, and then, you know, there's a nice twist, which works really well, and it's just like, and it's almost and like the things we've already been talking about. There's kind of a moment where you're kind of like, well, that's actually kind of upsetting. Like, with the ghost is getting stalked. This is terrible.
Yeah, she's in my first and only tell because of this thing.
Yeah, and dude, that's funny because I wrote my first and ever woman on the Wookiee with this article.
Jesus.
My tale is Hog Slice versus this person, where Maddie ends up
It's lovely.
Hog Slice. I wrote it it was another one of those like brain zap moments where like you write something so fast and it does really well. Like I post like tales are not known for doing well on the wiki, but like it's pretty high for a tale.
Hog Slice crossover tales are always perfect somehow.
I wrote that in like 10 minutes too. I was surprised. I even was like, I'll play. I want to go through the dialogue, maybe touch this up. And you're like, fuck it, I'm posting. And it did really well, like, regardless of that.
I think it got to 50 in a day, which is very, very high for tales.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes tales
Extremely.
only get 20 or 30, even when they're really good.
Like, I don't know. Again, this is like one of those moments, I think, where like people just so happen to come together to rally behind an article they really liked. And, I'm thankful that it could happen to me just this once because...
Oh my god. As if you were like some struggling... no one knows who Jake Dude is. Shut the fuck up. I'm gonna fucking kick you off this podcast.
Listen. I'm proud of it. I think it's a good article.
No, it is. It is a good article.
Great.
And I think that I need to write more women. I need to write more funny women.
You do!
I realized I was like... I could make like a cute like character who people are gonna want to like draw and everything, and then I get to also make them funny. Like no one wants to draw I usually write ugly stupid men, and I should write like cute stupid women. You know? Fucking silence.
That's right.
Just dead air.
That's what you get.
Listen, no, it's good. It's good. Anyways, does anyone else have?
We're gonna move on because that was awkward as fuck. But okay, so another one that was recommended by you, Dune, which I think we've all read and love.
If it wasn't recommended by Dune, I would have recommended it as like my only recommendation.
I was gonna recommend it, but I had an all caps guy already, so I was like, might want to change this one.
But this is like the all caps guy. This is
right.
like practically the original all caps guy.
And it's
I have something to say about this one.
Well, okay, but it's just let's say what it is first, which is SCP-1233, the Lunatic by Cadaver Commander, which is the Moon Champion.
Moon Champion.
So this one is I think this is Cadaver Commander's his second highest rated piece because he has the 4999. Well deserved.
That's incredible.
I think there's of course Moon Champion's a very funny guy. And this is such a good example of how random humor can be funny. And I read this article and tried to write, when I was very early on, tried to write something with that random humor style. And I sent it to Dune before we were ever really friends like we were. It was the Crash Dummy, you remember?
Yeah, Crash Test Dummy. That I didn't work. I tore into that article.
It didn't work, and I knew it didn't work. The way, there is I think what's needed for these random articles is an internal logic. Mm-hmm. Moon Champion comes from the moon, doesn't understand Earth, but has somewhat of an understanding, but it's a bit twisted. Like the Uncle Nicolini article where he comes down for Halloween and thinks it's Cinco de Mayo. Yes. He has a general understanding of what holidays are, but just gets everything wrong. He has a general understanding that you eat a cookie. He smashes it into his helmet. That's where the humor is derived, because he's almost there, but not fully.
Yeah, I don't think we established this either. Moon Champion is a sentient NASA emu suit. He's an astronaut suit.
Do we know that there's no one inside?
We don't know that there's nobody inside, but there's never been any evidence that there is.
It has that article, that same kind of mystique that all of Cadaver Commander's articles do, where there's a lot of effort put into the backstory and internal workings of the character that actually comes up in the article itself. It's subtly there. It's in a few sentences, but it definitely is there, and it makes it feel like a really lived-in world that this character is built around. Moon Champion does have a history, because I know this because I've talked to Cadaver Commander, and while that history might not be on the wiki itself, there are parts of it that are in this article that you are privy to if you pay attention to the dialogue and everything. And I just, I think that Cadaver Commander is probably the most influential author for my style of writing. Like,
Same.
that man has never fucking missed with any one of his articles. And like, Moon Champion's probably one of my favorites from him. I can't say if it's exactly my favorite, but I definitely think it deserves like being one of his most highest rated. And there's so many fucking good lines in this. Like that little block, that bullet point block where it details all of like Moon Champion's like weird ass behaviors, like where he's like walking into like storefronts or like crashing into cars or fighting with fire hydrants,
chasing small insects such as grasshoppers and butterflies,
walking directly into a lake.
Each other, yeah, or collecting dogs and trying to use them as currency. And in a vacuum, this stuff is all like very absurd, but when you establish that the character is like, you know, definitely not the most like stable person, and you portray him realistically like that, like it's so funny and it's so well written.
But like
it's
like Plague was saying, there's like an internal logic to it. Like it doesn't make sense 100% to us, but you can tell that it makes sense in he's not just crazy. It's not just a rando guy. It's not random to him at all. It's just wrong. It's just like it's disconnected from the way that humanity actually is, but he is not aware of that.
There's a reason in the article given why he's even bothering with all this, because he's serving the Moon King. He's not he's not one of the Moon people, and that's like one of those lines that like kind of like stuck with me, because I was like, he's serving like the Moon King and everything, and you don't get any details on the Moon King, but he's not one of them. And it's like one of those like little multifaceted lines that are just all over Cadaver Commander's work that add another dimension to his characters. You read this stuff and you get a fully formed picture of what character he wants to portray. I mean, and he does it
from the first article, from the first line. Like, the first line that he has talking. He's talking to somebody who's 32 and owns this bakery or whatever, or it's a cafe, and he opens with the line, "Greetings, little girl."
Yeah. So, back dance with that shit. But, like, Cadaver Commander's work, like, I don't even want to shill his SCP work. I want to say go read his fucking book.
Hell yeah, I just finished it.
His book is so good. I don't even
phenomenal.
Read books, but I like that one.
It's called Featherlight by Jake Schaefer. Buy it.
The Featherlight Transmission.
And it's in...
He changed the name to Featherlight. People always correct me on this, and then they put the wrong information.
Yeah, it's just Featherlight.
It's just called Featherlight now.
I've been including the link to buy it on Amazon for the last few episodes.
I love his writing. His book is so fun.
It's great.
There's so much character.
It's terrific.
It's like an urban fantasy, and the character writing is just so good. The voice in it and the narration is so good.
Yeah, that's
the thing that he does is he like completely violates the rule that I hold to so strongly, and it's the only thing I've read in 10 years that does it and does it well, where he actually will pause to explain this fucking, maybe for a whole page, this background information about a world.
And it's all fascinating.
Because, well, I mean, either way, even if it wasn't, because the voice of Featherlight himself is so fucking funny and good and, like, well-rounded that you just go, yeah, tell me about this shit. Just talk to me. It could be a spoken word album by this guy, and I would probably read it.
The lore is actually really interesting, too. It is. Because it's delivered to you in a really good way. And there's even a funny line in there where Featherlight himself says, if you don't want to read about all this shit, just skip to page 67 or whatever. Oh my god, like, way to know your audience. And
that's what you get for coming from the SCP wiki.
Yeah, the lore dumps are like really like not even lore dumps, because it's all so relevant to the story, and it's so relevant to like the crazy like cyberpunk fantasy city that the character is living in.
It's very compelling.
And that it's such a good book, and it makes me wonder like how much stuff is out there that you don't even get to experience because you haven't heard of it. You know what I mean? Like, this book hasn't received mainstream attention when it absolutely deserves it.
Well, totally. If you go out there and look for books, dude, and read them, sometimes they can surprise you.
But they don't have upvote counts on them, so how am I supposed to know which ones are good?
It's called reviews, but yes.
And this book has very good reviews, and it needs more, so you should leave one if you liked it.
It's really good. Yeah, I mean, if the lesson of anything is, we know two SCP authors that have moved on to try and get some notoriety off the wiki and have done really brilliant. Oh,
Quantum.
I don't know.
And
Quantum.
Tanhoney does Aetheral Space. That's 4.
I'm saying people I know.
Oh,
but,
okay.
But okay.
I know Tanhoney.
I said
own a copy
you said
of Quantum.
Quantum.
I said Tanhoney.
You didn't say Quantum?
You did say Quantum as well, and so did I. You did. I heard you say it.
What the fuck?
I
heard you say it with your face, you big blue liar.
Anyway, all right, Tanhoney as well.
You fucking delusional old man.
Oh my god, this is a
both
distraction from the fucking point, which was
Plague
go
is
out
actually the
and read
blue
these
liar.
fucking books, you
Blue's
fucking
a small
monkeys.
blue liar.
Oh my god,
Yeah, anyway, what were we talking?
doesn't fucking matter.
Champion.
I love Moon Champion.
One
Moon
more
Champion
thing
was
I want to bring up about the Moon Champion article. The bullet points that we were talking about, I've used them. One of the best, most effective ways to deliver comedy.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
They are so good if you have the right wording. Like, I have this draft I haven't posted. I think I showed it to you guys about the deadlifter, the zombie.
Yes.
dog.
Yes. Uh-huh.
I have a list of things it does, and one of the lines is like terrorizes a farm. And like, that's really funny. And like, there's no real way to deliver that with the SCP format.
right. Bullet points are terse, and terse humor is
Dude,
fantastic.
I have an article that literally is like bullet points. It's the fucking Guy Man. Does anyone remember that one?
Yep.
That one.
That's like the normal ass guy that's contained, and they're not sure what the anomaly with him is. And half of that article is bullet points, and the only reason I was like inspired to write that is because of articles like Moon Champion. Because I was like, I realized how much you could fit into a little like short burst of information like that, especially with comedy.
And the pacing of it can work so well too, because you can start off with something so like obvious, like these start inspecting various objects such as we lost Plague. Such as farm equipment, buildings, and plants, or whatever, and then it ends with, like Harry said, marching directly into bodies of water. Such as ponds and lakes, bodies of water.
I love this article so much that when I was on a contest team where we were basically explicitly required by the virtue of what we were writing to cross over with other people's stuff, the very first thing I thought was I need to use Moon Champion, and I wrote Cadaver Commander a PM, because this was so far back that I was actually afraid to use other people's stuff, and said, do you mind if I use your character? And he had no idea who I was. He was in a side chat asking people, do you know who the hell Harry Blank is? Because he's sending me a PM. And his response was, I'll only object in the form of a downvote if you write my character poorly, LOL, otherwise go nuts. And that's how I met him. Because I just love this character so much. He's so funny. I couldn't bear to be writing about anybody else's stuff without including Moonshine.
Sludge's characters are really fun to write, right?
They are.
If you fuck them up, he will tell you, and it's not fun.
Oh, this has happened to you, has it?
It hasn't happened to me, but I've seen it happen to other people.
It is not that easy to come up with what they would say, because you have to toe that fucking line of absurdism.
It is almost immediately infuriating when you start to write Moon Champion. He is almost immediately too much and annoying, and you have to dance this really thin line to make sure that he's not too much himself, or it just becomes unreadable. And it really makes you appreciate how well that article's written.
It's because he is a character, but he's this really restrained character, and so you could turn it into something like really obvious and annoying. It's so easy.
Like, I'm just reading through like Moon Champion again right now, and I'm just like, there's some of the lines in here are so good. Like at the end, like when he takes this guy, he takes a random civilian and he flies up into space with him. He kidnaps him. And he says, he asks him if he's willing to join the fight against the fucking moon monsters. Like, that's just like such like a simple little line that just tickles me. I love it.
And then almost immediately after that, just from fucking memory, I haven't seen it in like a year, just from memory, he says, tonight you brush your teeth in space or in the stars or something like that.
Yeah. He gives a speech, and he says, let us away, fellow, fair meet fellow, and earn the glory of heroes. This day you brush your tooths amongst the stars.
We fly!
That's so much better than the way I said it.
Also, him saying fair meat fellow does tell me that there's nobody in there.
There you go.
Yeah.
Also, that one last thing on Moonshine, because we really ought to get to the rest of them.
Yes.
Right from word one, it's clever. The title is cleverly chosen. It's a crazy person from the moon,
Yep.
the lunatic.
Yeah. Oh wait.
Right? Now that is the origin of the word lunatic anyway,
Yeah.
but the fact that it plays on both of them because he's a lunatic and he's from the moon.
It's brilliant.
That's good.
It's also a really like good title too. Like a lot of people like to title their stuff anymore like silly things or like puns. And you know, I'm always a fan of those titles that sound grand, or the titles that sound, you know, that don't really give away too much about the contents of the article. And what better hook than to say that this article is about a fucking lunatic?
And it
like,
fucking delivers.
A little preview image of like the fucking spacesuit. Like immediately you were drawn into this. You want to read it. At least that's how it was for me.
You know,
Absolutely.
Harry's on this show, right? You don't have to like out him like this.
With Harry with
Clever titles. Ugh.
See, Harry gets a pass because he's actually funny. I mean, like your typical like SCPD type. Like,
I suck at naming. I suck at writing titles.
I think it was T. Rutherford maybe who said about me that like he liked what I was writing, and I always write the most just absurd, stupid ass fucking titles on the thing. He's like, I read the article, I'm like, that's a good article. I look at the title, I go, what the hell did you want that for?
Harry's titles are at least good because they stick in your mind because you can search for them easily with the articles, you know? I never struggle to remember what a fucking Harry blank title is. I think my favorite one of yours is The Woman in the Incinerator.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very popular title, yes.
I like
What a misogynist, putting women in incinerators. What a
I
horrible
know.
monster
One
Harry Blank
of
is.
my favorite pieces of blackmail to use against you. I'm like, look at this. Harry Blank hates women. If he didn't, why would he write this?
Well, my favorite Harry Blank title is The Man of the Hour, about the Sandman. So good.
That's right.
Man of the Hour is probably one of the best titles on the wiki.
Oh, yeah, Man of the Hour is good. That's a good one.
I love, that's probably top like 3 of my favorite Harry Blank articles.
Sorry,
Something about that one.
stop praising Harry Blank. We have to move on.
All right, we're gonna praise Plague.
I'm just going to shrink into a little ball while you carry on.
He has
Yes,
fucking tears in his eyes. You can hear him.
I just don't get enough affirmation. Okay, yeah.
He's like, PlaguePJP praised me.
My friends.
Okay. Hey there, fans of Simply Creative People. We're mostly unsponsored so far, so I figured I would take the time to mention that you can support the show on the show page at anchor.fm/simplycreativepeople, or if you're so inclined, you can check out Harry or my Ko-Fi pages at ko-fi.com/harryblink or /Grigori Karpin author. Things are crazy tough out there, so if you can't afford any financial support, and trust me, we understand, do us a favor and mention the podcast to someone who might enjoy it, or spread the word online. If we want to bridge the gap between fans and creators, we've got to get the word out to new fans. In many ways, this show is designed to be appealing to new and old fans of SCP alike, as we can all enjoy some discussion about this thing we love, and we can all learn something new. Heaven knows I learn something new every week. Thanks so much, and we love you just for listening. Thanks for the support through all these first few months of the podcast. You're the best.
6597, Whale
right.
I'm Boned by PlaguePJP.
I love this one.
Speaking
I
of
always
clever
remember-
titles,
The fucking
Plague,
title is
why would you do a clever title? That's lame.
Grebo came up with that one. The original was literally Scordo, God of Scrimshaw, and Whalebone Carbon. Grebo came up with it. He's like, call it Well on Bone. I'm like, that's
Of
a good
course, it's a Grebo
so
title.
perfect.
Grebo's so
I love
fucking
this.
funny.
I genuinely think this is my best comedy story. Like my best.
It's
solo
incredibly
story.
funny.
It's
I've
such a
read-
good article, Plague. Oh my god.
I've just got several sections I just want to read, which that tells you. Like, I don't even really have much to say other than, like, I just want to read parts of it. It's so fucking good.
Well, it's your podcast, bro.
Oh, I didn't realize I had the permission. Anyway, okay, so he grants somebody sainthood, and he's like, the fuck was that? You're a saint. Saint Cillian Fresca is your name now. You sainted me? What does that mean? Well, when someone asks if you're a saint, yeah, you can legally say yes. But, oh, is that all? Also, you can no longer die. What?
So this is a god, and he's a god of carving bone, specifically whale bone, which is called scrimshaw, and it's an inherently funny word. And I think that the fact that scrimshaw is an inherently funny word, how much of the inspiration for the article was just that factoid?
Well, what happened was, I forget where I got Scrimshaw from, or like what exact video, but it was from Salmonella, who is a YouTuber who does like crazy like videos on like crazy moments from history, just like random stuff that just like kind of interests him. But that's also where I got the idea for the Site 120 Christmas monster article, because he did a whole video on like weird Christmas articles, but weird Christmas monsters. But that's another thing. But I got specifically the line about flax spinning at the end. That's literally from the video. That. Yeah, like the god of flax spinning. That was from a mention in the Christmas characters video where like this like Swedish monster would eat this girl because she didn't spin all her flax. But I got this idea actually from Reddit, where I was on writing prompts, and the prompt was like, you're a little girl who stumbles into a long lost temple, and you place a cookie on this table and become this god's champion. I was like, that's fucking ridiculous and stupid. So I'm just gonna write it ridiculous and stupid. And I was like, you know what's ridiculous and stupid? The word Scrimshaw. Let's just do the god of Scrimshaw. And I was like, what do I name this dude? So I was like, okay. Like the first name of a god that popped in my head was Odin. And I was like, what's Odin backwards? It's Nito. And I was like, that sounds stupid. So I needed something else. I was like, score. Scordo. And I was like, okay, that works.
Play, do you have this article open right now?
Yeah.
Okay. I would like to just read a very small portion of this with you. Would you do that with me?
Yeah.
I hope this is what I think it is.
I want to go to the end of the log that ends with that sentence that starts with, I would like people to.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So you will play yourself, and I'm just going to read Scordo. Is that all right?
Okay, yeah.
Are you there?
Yeah. We'll start at, I mean people didn't stop. Let's start there.
Okay, so I'm going to read the line before.
Do the lines before that.
I'm going to read the one line before that, and then you'll read the next one. Sound good? Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm Scordo, and Plague is his own author avatar, director Paul Legg. Is that how you say it, by the way? Legg?
Yeah,
I mean,
people have
since it's a
said
fake
it
name.
very weirdly.
Lagoo?
Lagoo?
We call you
Really
Plagoo, so...
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't really care.
So he's trying to figure out why his power is reduced, and they're explaining. He goes, so people stopped killing elephants and whales?
I mean, people didn't stop. It still happens. It just made illegal in a lot of parts of the world. A lot of countries are really strict about the import of necessary materials, but it did cut down on it.
I see. I have a suggestion then.
Let's hear it.
I would like people to start killing more elephants and whales. It was one of my favorite lines that I've ever read on the wiki. It is such a perfect moment.
That was like one of those like jokes where I was like, oh, he did it again. Like I was so fucking jealous of that line. That was such a good way to vlog.
Absolutely. That's so good.
If we go back to like writing comedy, I think like we were mentioning how it's more of a headspace. If you can come up with a punchline you want to get to, that makes writing everything so much easier. I was like,
absolutely.
I need this dude to want elephants and whales to be killed, because like we can all agree that's a pretty bad thing. We don't want people to kill elephants and whales, but like it's funny that
it's
this
a funny
guy's
thought.
Like, so out of there. He wants people to kill more elephants and whales so he can still be a god. So I was like, okay, that's the punchline. How do I get it there and also give this exposition? So
I just like how matter of fact he says it.
Yes,
I would like people to start killing more elephants and whales.
I like the way he leads into it. I like the fact that he's like, I have a suggestion. But that setting up of a punchline is like so effective, because then you can reverse engineer it. If you're already in that headspace. But that's basically what I did for that demonic corporation one for Department Con. If any of y'all read that, which was like, I knew how I wanted it to end, and I knew I wanted it to be about the Satanic Panic in the most ridiculous way possible, and then I just kind of reverse engineered it from there.
Yeah, you gotta make the article support the punchline.
Yep.
Yeah, and if you know what you're doing, then you can make that work. And all of
this also
all
goes
these
into like an arts and crafts event.
I love that.
With a cameo from Plague's original article as well. It's Quincy Harrison, site director and Gumball Machine.
Yeah,
I love
I tried to use him a lot.
Fucking right. I think he qualifies at this point.
He might.
I love your little like mini universe of like characters at your Foundation site. Like I haven't established that stuff. I have like one character on the wiki. I have fucking Death Knife, Damien Death Knife, who's appeared in other things that people have written about. Whereas you have this little. Well, Hog Slice is a Plague character too. That's a collaborative between the two of us.
What I love about this is that Director Lag himself is the straight man always. He's almost never making the jokes. It's just surrounded by all these.
The way
people.
I have him is he's very like sarcastic. He'll help a lot with. He'll let like the way I read him. He'll let the ridiculous characters shine, but also he adds on to the humor a little bit by like just kind of highlighting how absurd it is.
Right.
Like, the line, I'm forgetting that they call him a time wizard, but there's the line where Squirtle's like, I'll sanctify you all for passing the test. Leg flips out, it's like, no, you can't do that. And Leg's just like, they were corrupted by the god of flax spinning, and then that turns out to be a real guy. And just like, the leaving of that too.
That bastard.
Because I feel like if I just left the line as, they've been corrupted by the god of flax spinning, and then Squirtle's like, well, but he builds on, like, Squirtle's building on top of that line.
He recognizes it's a real person that he's already mad at.
Yeah, fucking Flatuvio. And I do think, like, what you mentioned about your author avatar Plague, it's like, I've never been able to really get mine down, because I don't like writing about mine. I always think it comes off as a little bit, like, self-indulgent, but the idea that I've had for mine was where, like, your character's always, like, a kind of a straight man, kind of sarcastic. I think it would be funny if mine was like a real big like corporate ass kisser, because like, you know, real like penchant for showmanship and everything, but like in sort of a way that fucks people over. And I think that really fits with what we're trying to do with our articles, where I don't know if you've noticed this, but like when we write about these like silly anomalies being, you know, integrated into the Foundation, this is part of a larger thing where we're kind of like demonstrate a story about like. I mean, we call it the integration program or project or whatever we call it. It's very important. But
project originally.
But when we do this kind of stuff, we're telling a story about the Foundation's own morals and standards changing with the times. And I think that the more articles that we put out in this genre, the deeper the surrounding lore behind it becomes, but not in a suffocating way. And this is like Squirto's another article that pushes that line further with like an arts and crafts seminar. And I'm just really appreciative that Plague wrote this, because he's doing all the work for me.
It's one of my favorite articles on the site because it's so fucking funny.
Well, it's a good transition too to Harry's next one.
Well, just one thing I do want to say.
One more word from the big guy.
Squirto is like, I really, like, you guys mentioned that, like, Dune mentioned how I have those characters, and, like, Harry knows how much I suck at this because of the drafts I've written for 43, which often lead me to, like, giving up, be like, oh, fuck this, I'll do it later, where I suck at keeping a timeline. So I remember I was going through Caps Lock's crew where Harry, like, I didn't realize this reading it because I don't pay attention to dates, but like it's like a 50-year long, like,
it goes for a long
craziest shit they run through, and I'm just like, all right, I need names of a few agents, so I just pick up a few, and I'm like, Harry, does this make sense? He's like, these are people from 3 different like time periods of like, you gotta be kidding me.
They're dead. These guys have been dead for years.
Yeah, that's what he said. He's like, we could work this out later, but it was like. I was like, God damn it, how much work do I have to put into this? And I was like, I don't want to make up characters for 43 because I know how much Harry values like having like a consistent base that he could depend on. So it's like,
I should have told you to just write security character, archivist character, whatever, and then I'll just put them in for the correct year.
Hey, I made up a character for Site 43, and
Officer Gorgos.
I don't even have a Site 43 article. I just hit Harry with fucking Officer Gorgos one day, and he's this big, like, bulky security officer who repeats his own name. And Harry
Gorgos!
He loves it. So
I love it. It's amazing. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't fit. It's perfect. Gorgos.
Like, I'm telling you, just need to just go ham on Harry's characters and ideas. Loves it. He'll take it. He'll lay down and let you shit all over his work.
And that's the perfect segue to where we talk about an article that I designed specifically to flatter both of you and everything you guys do with your work. Which one of you didn't even read for like a year, even though I published it on his birthday.
I love this article.
Fucking Plague.
Sorry, I love this one though.
So it's SCP-6121, the Caps Lock crew.
Yeah.
So what's just
By me.
do the premise, Harry? What is
Yeah,
the
okay.
premise?
So I'll do the premise and the inspiration at the same time. Caps Lock's which is my term for these shouty guys that Dune and Plague like doing, that kind of goes all the way back to Moon Champion, although he doesn't speak in all caps. These characters who are really loud and really funny that just do this through line all the way from series 2 all the way up to the present. These characters who are really funny and really loud and really weird and destructive and problematic, I thought, what would it be like if they started showing up in the 60s, before any of this shit was even in the database, way the hell back in the past? How would the Foundation react to a legitimately funny, weird, shouting thing they didn't understand? And I thought, they'd be a little freaked the fuck out and not know what to do with it. And that was the entire premise, was what if I wrote Plague Dune-like characters who are just completely off the fucking wall. These are just mascots who magically appear at conventions and shows, cause chaos, talk really loud, make no sense at all. And the Foundation keeps finding more and more of them, because every time there's a convention in Canada, or related to Canada, or even semantically vaguely incorrectly related to Canada, these mascot characters start showing up, and they have to keep containing them until they've got this gigantic fucking harem of ridiculous mascots that they can't even figure out what to do with. And I thought, yeah, I'll just write a whole fucking article of these nonsense characters screaming, and the Foundation characters going, what is this? This is funny, right? These things are funny. It's not supposed to be funny, and they're all a little skeeved out that their horrifying universe is now being noticeably funny at them, and they just don't know what to deal with it, which of course leads to the twist ending that I don't think we should spoil.
No, but I want to do the first logs.
This is a lot funnier than like anything that I've written, and like I'm genuinely like blown away at some of the dialogue in this.
Okay,
article.
but I want it. Let's read some of this, because this is so. Let's do a reading of this.
I think that's a good idea.
So I want to do the first. I just want to do the interview logs, not the debriefings, but it's both of the ones that with the first log.
Okay, so the one that shows up in 1963 that is a giant stylized owl called an Ukpik.
Yeah,
that's the one.
I'm gonna do the owl. Who wants to do Chief Strauss?
I guess since it's me, I'll do Chief Strauss, since Chief Strauss has no personality and is boring, just like me. All right, this is a real quick one, so yeah. Hello, SCP-6121. I'm going to ask you a few questions.
Hoo, motherfucker!
I beg your pardon?
I'm an owl.
And that's the whole log?
but it's so funny on its own, but it sets this other one up so good.
He doesn't say an owl, he says a owl.
That's right. He says an owl. Yeah, you're right. I can't even say it. It's
hard to say.
Owl. It is hard to say.
I'm an owl. An owl.
Alright, so we're going to do this next one?
You want to do the next one where it starts with hoot hoot?
Yeah.
That one? Yeah,
hoot hoot!
We've been over that.
Caw.
That's... Owls don't...
I'm not really an owl.
No?
No.
Then what are you?
I'm an anthropomorphic personification.
Really?
Yes.
That's terribly interesting.
Yes.
And what are you an anthropomorphic of?
A motherfucking owl. Moron.
It's fun because nobody's ever read this out before, and we've discovered that it's very difficult to say two A sounds in a row out loud. Because he doesn't say "an" ever, but your mouth won't even form.
I know.
Anthropomorphic.
Let's do the fucking military guy one. I want to do that one.
Okay, which one? Oh yeah.
So the first one with that?
Yeah, I'll be the. Can I be the guy?
The guy or the Akori is
the fucking the giant wall. The guy, the shouty guy. I want to be the shouty.
The entity
guy. Yeah.
Yes, the entity.
All right.
I'll be Dr. Akori.
Okay. This thing is a giant. I'm not even sure what this is.
It's an MRE.
Oh, okay, yeah, all right. It's an MRE, and he's got like a military hat on. He has a big mustache. And he has googly. So he's being detained by the Foundation. War.
Good God, y'all!
What?
The song War
You know who else sings?
No?
Communism. And that's the end of the line. It's brilliant. Like, this fucking article, dude. I love it. I love everything about it.
I like that one so much because the researcher is like leaning into it. The researcher is trying to lean into the comedy of it, and the thing still won't play along.
And the researchers don't get it either.
Right.
Like and it's not like you see a lot of time in these articles where the researchers are overtly like dismissive of these things. Like in this article, there's this running gag that Harry does where he has more and more researchers showing up at these interviews, watch the show to play along with these things because they don't really find it funny, but they're definitely intrigued by it. It's hilarious.
I'm glad every time someone notices that because there's a list at the top of who's there at the meeting, and even though there's only ever one person talking, I add one name to the list of people who've showed up every year for every single one until there's like 20 people.
Yeah, that's where I got the list of names for that article.
Of course.
That's where, that's where I was like, okay, I need a chief, all section chief. All right, Falkirk, let's go. Get in here.
Not to get into spoiler territory, but fucking Clef shows up in this too, and it's hilarious. Like Harry actually wrote Clef as like a funny character, which I thought was impossible.
Clef shows up and he's just not having this.
Yeah, no, Clef does not find any humor in this. He kind of embodies that like old school like mentality, and it's appropriate in meta and like in universe sense, and it's so funny. I like the way you wrote Clef in this article, Harry.
Thanks.
I think what also is really good about this one is how like they're everything. All these like different mascots are very like have like a weird difference to them that I don't know how to like say in words. But there's just like a different feel to each of them. Like the owl is like different from the war guy with like just in such little wording that you could tell. It's just like different characters and they all follow just like a very small theme of just being loud and weird. They're all so different.
They have just enough personality injected into them to work a very small chunk like that you're given.
Someday we could probably do a reading of this one all the way through because, of course, Leg and Dune's author avatar are both in this as well, and so is Calibold's author avatar, and I think mine is probably in there very briefly as well.
I feel like this.
Which other one is in there?
Like a curated collab log. As long as we keep it like make sure it's of quality. I think
make up your fucking own caps lock crew guy.
It totally is. Grigori wants to make sure everybody knows ahead of time that one of the characters in this is a small boy who gets half eaten by a giant frog mascot, non-fatally, and the kid who gets half eaten by a giant frog mascot is an author avatar that I forced on Grigori.
No. Oh, Plague did it first in Hog's Life.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Grigori Kaplan?
Grigori Kaplan. And then I made sure, I actually changed the dates around to make absolutely sure it could be Grigori Kaplan and put him. He just has bad luck with shouty monsters.
But it's so funny that you like, it's my AA, and then you made him get eaten. Just like, it's cannibalism. I know, but it's so funny that it's a cannibalism joke.
Can't stand cannibalism. Clay talking about the man of the hour. That's the only article of mine Grigori hasn't read a single word of because the character is a cannibal.
And he's a scary cannibal too. He's not like a silly cannibal.
I can handle this because it's like a joke.
Yeah, it's a little different.
The man of the hour, it's so dry that it's funny. That's where it comes from. It's just like, yeah, you kids. And it's just like that's why the twist works so well too. Because he just why would he say that?
I eat kids. What about it? What's your problem?
I have such a problem like taking a lot of like darker stuff seriously because I'll find it like funny. But like that was one of the articles on the wiki where it's presented so matter of factly that it actually made me like do a double take, and I was genuinely disturbed by it as opposed to finding it funny.
I found it hilarious. I was never disturbed. I thought it was so funny all the way through.
But that's the best part about like really like absurdist or unsettling things is how easily it can tilt into humor and how everybody can look at them slightly differently and why this shit fucking matters, honestly.
I always try to be at least a little bit funny.
I think that's a good transition for this next article too.
All right.
If you want to,
let's go.
This is one of my all-time favorite articles.
Yeah,
I love this article. I love this article so much.
We've brought this article up at least 3 times. We've brought up Dr. Rockefeller.
We keep bringing it up. But yeah, we need to hear the backstory. Dune, where did SCP-5648, Dr. Rockefeller, always with teeth, also always with all caps, where did you get the idea for this from?
Well, as we all know, my mind is a very interesting place when it goes to bed, not when it's awake. My dreams have always been really vivid, my entire life. I've always had a pretty good job at coming up with decent dreams, and I'd say a solid 80% of my SCP ideas come from my dreams. And Harry likes hearing about my dreams.
I do.
And I'll tell Harry about whatever I had a dream about, and he always finds it amusing. And all my best comedy stuff genuinely comes from my dreams, and it's always been like that. I don't know why. And I had a dream one night, and it was actually it was almost like a nightmare. It was about a non-existent Foundation personnel that was named Dr. Rockefeller, and he was this big, ugly dude with fucked up teeth, and he appeared in random collapsibles on the site, and he had a catchphrase, and it was, "Always with teeth, Dr. Rockefeller. Dr. Rockefeller, always with teeth." And I explicitly remember the dream was I was browsing the wiki, and I was like, who wrote this? And it wasn't an article, because it was this Dr. Rockefeller character appearing in random collapsibles on different articles on the site. And I remember opening one of them, and this big ass organ appeared in my room and started blasting organ music, scary ass organ music. And Dr. Rockefeller's face was in the collapsible, and I screamed, and I was like, that was a scary ass dream. That was terrifying. Harry was like, you should write this. And I was like, how do I even how do I turn this into an article? And then JamCon came around, which, as we all know, JamCon is a purveyor of fine quality ideas and great articles. And I was, the theme for the second day of this JamCon contest was corruption. And I was like, I can't come up with anything. Let's make Dr. Rockefeller into an article. And I did, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the theme. I wrote this in 4 hours. And there's a little moment where Dr. Rockefeller lampshades that, and he looks at the camera and straight up says, "I'm corrupt." That's the theme.
It's one of the best lines in anything, and it's one of those moments where I don't think that can be done twice. I don't think there can be a second JamCon article that so deliberately flouts the concept of there being a theme for the day and literally sticks it in your face that it's not doing the theme. But one time, that can happen, and this is that time, because it's a brilliant moment. I'm corrupt. That's the theme.
In the article that's on the site, Dr. Rockefeller is he's an old guy, and he pretends to be a Foundation personnel, and he stalks other members of the Foundation, and he wants their teeth. He'll stalk them, and he's weird and he's creepy, and a lot of the article could be attributed to how fucking great that picture is. This old guy I found.
It is a great picture.
He kind of looks like the penis taker. Definitely, he looks like he's Dr. Rockefeller, and looks like he's gonna shed all his dead skin into your mouth and down and rip out your teeth forcibly.
He just appears out of nowhere, and he's nonsensical and terrifying, and I love him.
And right from the beginning, which is the discovery, which he drops this note in a batch of mail addressed to this agent's house. "Your work in the anomaly has been hard yesterday, so why not oral? You're given free oral examination required by God. Dental health care package." So fucking good. "You're the best boy." You end it with, "You're the best boy."
Yeah, Dr. Rockefeller, always with teeth, will see you in Wing A21 to check you out. Whoa, this ain't your grandpa, but it's close enough.
And then signed, again, Dr. Rockefeller, in parentheses, always with teeth.
This is even an article where you look in the directions you wouldn't normally look. I know people have reading hacks for reading the SCP Wiki where they just don't read half of what's on the screen. But the heading on that note says "Official request from High Five Council." That's something that half the people reading the article probably never even see.
100%.
It's brilliant.
Why belong? I missed that.
Yeah, no, I don't think anyone pointed that out to me before. It's funny. This article, I don't even know where half this shit came from. Like, I just wrote this. Again, this is like a 3-hour jam-on thing. So, like, the concept of the story. Yeah, he's torturing this Foundation guy psychologically, and he wants his teeth. And it didn't even do that well. Like, at first, it was sitting at like plus 30 after like 3 days.
I was so mad.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, Harry and I think Locke thought it was like really funny, like really fun, like a lot funnier than it actually is, and they shilled it endlessly, and now it ballooned up in numbers. But I'm glad people like it.
I'm pretty sure I featured it on the front page at some point. Did I? Let's see.
You did not. No, I've never been featured. I've never been featured on the front page.
Okay, well that's not actually true because you have been with Plague because I remember now.
My solo work has never been featured.
I featured Bad Things Happen in Philadelphia.
You did, and you know what? That was the one time the front page practically had a good article on it.
Oh my god! Dude.
Most of the time, it's like some random Harry Blank article. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? He gets a feature every other month.
It's great because after a while, I was starting to think, I know this will stop eventually because you can only feature an article once, and it was getting to the point where they had featured almost all of my SCP.
And it makes me
I didn't even know. I didn't even know anybody was doing it. The only one that I knew ahead of time, I think, was when Plague and Grigori did one of my tales, which I really appreciate.
I will claim the first. Was I the first? Were me and Grigori the first Harry Blank feature?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. And it was a
annoying trend on the wiki.
Well, this wasn't an SCP though. This was a tale that was a 2-part tale that was 23,000 words total. So it kind of needed it.
Right, tales?
Just a few from time to time. Time after time.
Wow.
All right.
All right, moving the fuck on because we've got to fucking move on. SCP, I'm gonna start cutting shit. 3988, which is Napoleon Bonaparte's Superstar Skeleton by Cadaver Commander. Plague, you recommended this one.
Yeah. This one is another example of how well Cadaver Commander writes characters. Like, we went over a lot of his tactics in the 1233 part, but this is a very, very good example of like how he weaves the Foundation in as well, where there's this underlying story of this guy, of this skeleton being like the businessman, and there's like this he's getting like the person who made him is like trying to get some money and like has this big plan, but they only found this one skeleton so far, and just this like sassy asshole who's just like very flamboyant, very wacky. He wears a blue suit and he speaks like a douchebag. But it's just like, you also like love him because he's just like a cool dude too.
One thing I realized with this character especially is that he's like very like sad because skeleton was resurrected against his own will, and it's kind of like in there that like the guy who resurrected him is kind of like a neckbeard type. Like he's like very like casual. Like I think he wants to go somewhere. He wants to have a private island in Death Island.
Death Island.
But you can tell that this skeleton is like definitely very troubled about his second life. There's a line in here where he says, I was first made to be a jester, a jokey joke guy. I was supposed to make witticisms and be funny. I'm not even allowed to change my tone of voice to accurately reflect how miserable I basically feel all the time. I keep trying, but it doesn't work. Haha, so what else do you want to know? And you can tell that the skeleton fucking hates his life, and it's very sad, but he's funny because he's made to be funny. Because that's his job.
There's also...
Just like us.
I don't know if I'm just reading into it, but there's this tone, or it's implied at least to me, that like the necromancer is like trying to get rid of him. Like he just like sends him out there to like, oh, you're gonna drum up some business, and it feels almost like he's an abandoned puppy.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it.
They kind of feel like they're both screwing each other over. Like he sends him out there with no protection out into the world, being a skeleton in a suit who is so obviously going to be caught.
He sends him with a knife that would automatically kill, the knife of death.
And it doesn't do anything.
That's right.
The knife of death.
But at the same time, the skeleton, who is programmed to not be able to tell anything important about his master, is constantly trying anyway to hint enough that they can go catch the guy. So they both clearly don't have a lot of use for each other, which is just this funny, sad, faux abusive relationship.
Yeah, but the death dagger, it's so funny. It's so funny to me because we've got Death Knife, and then we've got this one. You know, it's so because he did give me the instant death dagger to defend myself with because I got no muscles. The super powerful magical artifact kills anyone it touches, guaranteed. But he never implants any violent impulses in me or anything, so I didn't even kind of use it. It's kind of scary. I'm a pacifist by nature, apparently.
And then it turns out the knife's not even anomalous.
That's right. It's just a knife.
The line goes, it's just a knife, and then he, it says he vibrates briefly, clacks his jaw shut, and then freezes for a short moment. He goes, well, I guess he lied to me. Haha, funny stuff.
Oh God, it's so fucking dark.
There's that palpable sense of like, oh, they really do not like each other, and then it even ends here again with him like giving information about his necromancer friend, and I mean it's good. And the necromancer character, Sludge didn't actually get around to writing that character on the wiki if he ever intended to, but he told me before that the way that I wrote Damien in Death Knife is basically what the necromancer character is. Like a basement-dwelling neckbeard who's really in over his head with this anomalous stuff. And looking at it, it's weird that connection's even there, because like I didn't read this article when I wrote Death Knife. I wrote it after. And the fact that there's even a knife that, kills anything that it touches in this article, as well as a guy that acts like Damien, I'm like, whoa. That's interesting to me.
It's a fun coincidence.
It is, but no, this article is so good, and there's also little references to Sledge's other articles in the Necromancer's note. The Necromancer says, "Just work your charms, and I'll be able to afford enough soul stuff to feed Gorzugal, and then we'll be able to stop the Regents to stop Shiriak from watching me when I'm in the goddamn shower." And Gorguzal is actually the demon from Gordo's. I know, Plague, you've read Big Gordo's.
Oh, yeah, the restaurant.
Yeah,
right?
It's the restaurant that's run by a demon that feeds you gory, fucked up food, like human testicles and like a penis and things like that. And
sounds like a good article for Grigori to read.
Yeah, I started reading it and then stopped.
It is genuinely the only article on the wiki that I had to stop eating while I was reading it. Like, I usually eat when I read stuff because it's the only way that, like, my iPad baby attention span is held. And that article, I had to put the food away because I was like, Jesus Christ. Like, gore usually doesn't get to me, but that article, it just did it for some reason. But yeah, no, once again, another great Cadaver Commander article.
Never fails.
Yeah, no kidding.
Never fails.
But let's move
Moving on.
So, Dune, you recommended this one by Cactus, which is SCP-4390, A Bad Maze. Unfortunately, my dyslexic ass wrote down the wrong thing, so I didn't read it. So, briefly, because we have more articles, what is the basic idea, the premise?
It's a bad maze. This is an article about a giant maze created by a bootleg Wondertainment.
Well, he's a Wondertainment, but he gets pissed off with the other Wondertainments because they're going to promote someone else to Dr. Wondertainment.
Yes. This is Professor Fantastic. Mm-hmm. And
no, it's not. It's something similar though.
It's a maze. It's Amazington or something.
Yeah, something incredibly
like because it's
that.
Maze, Dr. Amazington.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. Not fun. Fantastic's the other dude.
Yeah, that's the tiny seniors.
Yes, but this article, it's a bootleg maze that's kind of structured like a game show, and there's these weird ass anomalies set up throughout the maze that fuck with the MTF that tried to go through it. And the way it's written is this is the article that probably like had the most influence on me. I read this like about a month into when I started reading stuff on the wiki, and this is the first time that I ever saw an article be this funny. I still maintain that this is the funniest article on the wiki, and Rounder House backs me up on this, so you know that this is a state-mandated opinion. This is the funniest article on the wiki, and the reason why is just it's 90% logs, but the dialogue is so good. You don't even realize how long this article is because the dialogue is just that good. There's an asshole like Olmec statue, like one of those like faces that are in like part of the rock face, and he acts as like a dickish games show host for this maze, and he pops up in like the rock faces around, and he yells at the MTF team and everything, and there's just so many good lines here. There's
has one of the best setup and punchlines in any article with a character named Dominican Joe.
Yes,
if you read it, you'll know what I'm talking about, but it is hilarious. And the way it's described, the punchline is described, is so matter-of-fact and funny. It's so good.
And like, this is one of those articles where like the Foundation is really like fed up with this stuff, and the dialogue's actually funny. Like, there's that, criticism that like, oh, you just made the Foundation say fuck, that's not an excuse for a joke. But like the way that the dialogue here is written, where they're at the end, they're at their wits' end dealing with like how ridiculous and bullshit this anomaly is, where they're telling it to fuck off, and they're, there's these lines, the face is insulting the MTF team, and he goes, oh ho ho ho, look at who rattles back in for round 2. Getting your cheeks clapped the first time wasn't bad enough. You have to go and find some friends to experience it with you. And the MTF guy goes, shut up. And the face goes, oh, don't worry. You won't be hearing anything from me. I know a lost cause when I see one. I'll just be chilling back here, watching your failures and enjoying the satisfaction of your defeat. And he goes, seriously, you're a wall. And you fell in a hole. We all fall short of the glory of God. And one of the MTF guys goes, is this thing always like that? And he goes, he's a cock. Just ignore him, but also expect him everywhere. And it's just, these little interactions are so good. They're so funny. And
I have like one thing to say about that, and it's a meta funny in that article, because the reason this wall statue head game show host is so abrasive towards this MTF particularly is because in this crappy knockoff maze, he was given a crappy song to sing at the beginning, and the MTF went, that really sucked, and it hurt his feelings. So he's pissed off at them and trying to kill them for the entire
that line,
thing.
I'm just glancing through right now. That line is so funny. And they say, oh, that was worse than I thought it would be. And the face goes, wow, okay, very cool thing to say. Just trying to help out over here, doing my job. Fine then, dickholes. Go ahead, get in there. You won't hear me crying when you're dead.
It's like we mentioned earlier with like Dave You Fool having the fucking pelican call someone a stupid fuck. And it's funny. And when it's just like profanity, and this is the same article where it's so funny, and I don't even want to like spoil some of the really good punchlines in it. Like Plague said with Dominican Joe, there's a section of this where there's the man on the left and the man on the right, which are two like entities that are in the maze and they're in bathrobes or whatever, and they have to get past them, and they speak entirely in Spanish.
Yes, and it's all Spanish.
Yeah,
and none of them speak Spanish.
It's some of that like surreal humor that works really well. I love it. I love this article.
It's good.
I really think that this demonstrates that like you have to be on top of your game when writing comedy, because like if you had someone like if I tried to ape this article's style, I don't think I'd be able to. I think it would come off as a lot less thought out and a lot more just overly silly. Like this is a masterpiece. I love this article. And the reason why they're going through this maze, the reason why they're trying to get through it is because the bootleg Wondertainment has a filing cabinet that has picture. I don't know who they're pictures of, but it's pictures of
the board. It's Wondertainment's board of directors.
Yeah, Wondertainment's board of directors like having sex or something, or their nudes or whatever.
It's pictures of dick pics and stuff.
Yeah, it's dick pics of Wondertainment. It's really funny. It's really good stuff.
That's great.
It is a good article.
But we're going to move on. So SCP-4601, which is Revenge of the Red Menace. And it's by Nick the Brick and Boogeyman23. And Harry, you recommend this one. This one's fucking also very funny.
Yeah, this is a perennially underrated article. It's one of my favorite ones. The reason I know about it is I collaborate with Nick the Brick quite a lot, and Boogeyman23 was one of my original greenlighters when I wrote my first SCP. So I've got both of them in my thoughts and prayers. And it's only at plus 83, which is really offensive because it's really, really funny. The entire concept of this is, what if a sentient fire engine was also a grim and gritty Batman. It's a fire engine that's just roaring around New York City trying to put out fires, but it thinks it's fighting some evil fire gang, and it just drives through walls and sprays down like Iron Chef competitions. And
that's the bit that got me in tears.
It's so good, isn't it? It just comes in through the studio wall.
When this giant talking fire truck burst through the set of like a cooking show, I was like, because at first when Harry recommended me this article, like I think it must have been like a year ago or whatever, I was like, oh yeah, like I'm reading, it's pretty funny, I can see why he likes it, and I'm like, I didn't really get it fully until it occurred to me how fucking ridiculous the concept of like a talking like life-size fire truck is in this situation. It's great. I love it.
It talks like a Frank Miller Batman character, and it's just really, really intense energy. And it also has a tragic backstory, which is amazing. And I can understand exactly how this kind of thing came to be, because this is what Nick the Brick generally does, is he'll just be like, I have, and then he'll say, the strangest, most insane, out of nowhere story concept you've ever heard, which is totally bizarre, and we would all write it as a shitpost. And then he tells you the extraordinarily like meaningful, emotional backstory that these absurd characters have, and that's how I ended up with writing a collaborative tale with him, Tale SCP, where he wrote almost all of it because that's how he rolls. A fucking sniper scarecrow. And it's got an emotional backstory. The Sniper Scarecrow has an emotional backstory.
Didn't you also do the animatronic unicorn with him?
Yeah, Skippy the Unicorn is sick of your shit.
I love that one.
Yeah,
I need to collab with this guy already, because every time I hear about your ideation process with Nick the Brick, I'm like, damn, I'm jealous.
Nick's ideas are fantastic.
With Nick the Brick not even in the working. I have to talk to him about collabing with him. She's like, yeah, Nick, I want to collab with you, and we meant to do it, and then I had a bunch of personal stuff come up, and then I just forgot.
It's always worthwhile. The ideas are completely off the fucking wall. Anyway, this one everybody should read it. It's very, very funny, and
good.
He has so many good lines in this. The fire engine does. But This is my absolute favorite one, where he starts yelling at people, bystanders need to back off. Go home and watch the Fireplace Channel, rubberneckers. Fireplace Channel? The fuck is that?
I think that's only a Christmas thing.
Yeah, like a Yule
log. I really love stupid lines like that.
I just like... because it evokes everything he wants to evoke. That the fact that this is the Frank Miller Batman, like soul of a what do you call it, a vigilante, but a vigilante who fights against the fire. In all caps.
Trying to get Mr. Burns, I think is what he thinks it's called. He's imagined there's this evil entity called Mr. Burns responsible for all the fires in the town. And it also features an agent from the SCP Foundation who's clearly a little off kilter, who gets a little bit too into the whole thing. There's a recurring character in Boogie and Nick's stuff, Agent Rodney.
Yeah, he's like Rodney becomes like the Robin to the Fire Engine's Batman, and it's so ridiculous, but it's like we talked about earlier. It takes itself fairly seriously at the same time, that you just have to keep reminding yourself this is funny, and it is funny, but it's like it's written in this way that's serious, and then what the Fire Engine is actually saying is just fucking ridiculous in the best way.
And I loved it so much that, again, when I went looking to see what other people's stuff I could stuff into our Resurrection story in the Canon Renaissance contest, I stuck Moon Champion with Big Red the Fire Engine, because I fucking had to. There was really no way I couldn't have a fire engine fight the sentient astronaut suit.
This article's still crazy underrated, too. This is
only so low rated for what it is.
And it's funny, because I know Harry in particular talks this one up, too. But, I've mentioned it a few times, and I'm just surprised that, it's still sitting this low.
Yeah, some people are just not doing their fucking homework.
I know. It's almost as if people don't read on the SCP Wiki.
You'd almost get that impression if you didn't know better, but luckily we know better.
Everyone reads.
So anyway, I think we need to keep moving on because
Yes.
we need to make sure we get to Grigori's last article.
No, we can skip it. Honestly, I don't care. We've been going for a while, but I do want to talk
But we
about
definitely need to
Radagers.
do this next one because we were
Yeah.
just talking about underrated, and holy shit, everything Radiger writes is under fucking rated.
It's disgusting and upsetting.
It's
because
infuriating.
Radiger is fucking brilliant.
She's amazing at
Radiger?
everything she does. She's
The
so
hard
good.
G?
Yeah,
Radiger.
no, it's Radiger.
I do this all the time. I call
Radiger.
Yossi Posse Yossi Posey.
Yossi
Oh my god, I love that
just
so
sounds
much.
great to me.
Shut the fuck up.
I don't even know.
Lie on the air.
I'm not lying.
Yossi
I
Posey.
did a voice call and like Rounder was calling him a Yossi. I was like, okay, Yossi, and then I was like Yossi, and then I was like, fuck, Yossi.
You fucking hokey pokey.
Do the Yossi Posey and you turn yourself around.
Oh.
Anyway,
That's what it's all about.
so this one is SCP-6326, and it's the Man Bear. And
It's so good.
it's essentially about a cryptid, and on its surface, it seems like the most, like it's just sort of that stereotypical SCP article. It's about this weird cryptid, and the Foundation's trying to find it. But that, I don't think it ever appears in the article, because it's not about that.
Edgar doesn't show up
It's
in the
fucking
article. That's why
genius.
it's so good.
All
Other
we
than
ever
this
see...
absurd pencil sketch.
That's right,
Beautiful.
which Radiger did, and
course.
it's this centaur, but the centaur, what would normally be a horse body is a human's body, and then instead of the head is the top like half of a bear, and it just reacts very strange. But the hilarious thing is that we've got this agent who's been through like something horrible, which is linked to the article. I didn't read the other one, but
Lost an arm, I believe.
yeah, lost an arm and an eye, and
an
so this agent is like stuck on this like essentially light duty thing. You know, used to be an MTF agent and is now stuck doing this embedded like investigation with a cryptid fan club, and this agent is just. Agent Watts is just so fucking sick of this shit. Like before they even start the process, it's so fucking funny. Every single interaction that they have.
Really good at Sorry.
No, go ahead.
This has a really good, like, probably one of the best examples of like putting the anomaly not in focus.
Mhm.
Very character-based story of this agent just having the worst few days of their life.
Yes. Just like personal frustration tolerance not only met but then exceeded to the point where like I was afraid Watts was gonna kill these people.
Like, have you read this one beforehand?
I have.
No,
yeah.
this is the first time I read it.
Oh, play.
Because I just read this today, and I was like, because I initially put this one off because I saw the drawing sketch for it, and I was like, I was dismissive of it. Admittedly, I was like, this is gonna be forced. I know exactly what this article is gonna be. It's gonna be, and as soon as I read it, I was like, kicking myself because I was like, this is some of the best like
Listen,
dialogue that I've read on the site.
genuinely, Radiger is
It's
a genius.
so funny.
Radiger is
It's really
Radiger is goddamn genius at this
Radiger's
stuff.
comedic
especially.
timing.
really
Comedic timing
the
is
foundation.
The podcast is really good, but even if you don't listen to that, any of the articles that Radiger has done is fucking incredible. Like
Go
like
see her-
this.
Have you read the Long Fish Church one?
Yes.
Oh, I love the
yes.
Church of the Fish that just goes on forever.
Yeah. I want to give an example of how the anomaly just like has really nothing to do with the story, but it's still so captivating and funny.
Is that actually? I didn't know that was a Radiger one. Oh,
Pretty sure it is.
I thought that was a Western one, actually. Maybe I'm wrong, but I didn't know that either. But no. With this,
no, it is a Radical one. He's right. Wow, I love
Okay.
that article. It's one of my favorite. I love that article. Also, she does videos on YouTube that are
Oh my god,
unbelievably-
they're so
comedic
funny.
timing.
They're
Uh,
so
her
funny.
Channel is called Tan for Rad, and they are so fucking funny. The comedic timing and editing in it is absolutely unimpeachable.
Usually I'm not a huge fan of articles where the Foundation, like, or a member of the Foundation is like the focus and they're the snarky, like, funny one. But in this, it works because you have this
Yes.
hardened FPF individual that's thrown into a situation where they're like having to interact with all these like conspiracy nuts and like cryptid hunters and people, and it's played for laughs in such a really good way. There's all these like excerpts of the Foundation agent getting like so annoyed with these people. Like one of them straight up goes like, I suspect there's some Men in Black type shit going on around here. And they just go, yeah, wouldn't that be crazy? And it's just, like,
my favorite part is when
deadpan,
somebody asks Agent Watts, "Are you a Man in Black?" And Watts goes, "Do you mean am I an alien hunter from the Will Smith movie?" You know what I mean? Yeah, I do. I'm not an alien hunter from the Will Smith movie.
and then it follows up with another great gag because they're really fed up with being assigned to this, and they've requested off duty from this stupid ass assignment, and they won't get it from the Foundation. And then the person they're talking to goes, "What happened to your face?" Because they lost an eye. And then there's silence for several seconds, and then Watts delivers a log that is completely expunged, which you could assume went on forever. And then they're immediately reassigned because that subtle comedic timing of like they're so frustrated that they intentionally gave out classified information that would have forced the Foundation to remove them from this assignment, and that's played as a joke, and it's so good. That's one of my favorite jokes.
It's beautiful.
Okay, I just want to read one part of it, and it's the Member D interview, and it's like 5 lines. Who wants to do it with me?
Where is this?
It's like 2/3 down the page. It's the one. It's the very short interviews that's under a collapsible. Interviews with other club members.
Okay.
It's Member D.
I can do it.
All right, so I'll do Member D. Plague, you want to do Watts?
I'll do Watts, yeah.
Okay. Like, don't you ever wonder if he's ripped?
Are we still talking about the human-bear hybrid monster in the woods?
Yeah. He lives in the woods and hunts with his bare hands. Don't you think he'd be jacked?
I guess.
And they say he's bigger than normal people.
Hoping this isn't going where I think it's going.
What I'm saying is, I bet he's hung.
Eat it here.
Beautiful.
I just love it. She telegraphs the joke and then just does it anyway.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Usually like the end cap comments from like, where a character is like, "Oh, this sucks," or "This is stupid, I hate this," blah blah blah, doesn't work. Here, the frustration from Watts is so palpable that it's actually funny. Like when they say, "Oh my god," or "I hate it here," or "Fuck you," like this is great. I love this art.
One of the other members in the middle of it goes, "Can I ask you a question now?" And Watts is like, "Is it about my arm?" And the member says, "No." "Is it about my eye?" Member C does not respond because no, you cannot.
It's so flat. I love the flat delivery of this person who's just done.
Too.
It's beautiful.
This is a lot of good character work done in a very small space for Watts. I know they have other things on the wiki that I have not read featuring this character.
I feel like this character was in that comic that Radiger posted not long ago that really took off because it was fantastic.
Oh yeah, the comic's so good.
Anyway, read.
Honestly, go to Radiger's fucking author page
Radiger
and
media.
please read through her stuff. It's so fucking good, and her YouTube channel, Tab for Red, is so funny. It's crazy to me that she's not like making movies. Seriously.
Damn right.
Anyway, all right. We can do a little bit of mine. So SCP-3809, which is Love in the Time of Algorithms, which was my entry into the CupidCon one, where I cheated because I just wrote about a stalker.
You got like second place with your stalker, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
I love this one.
It's such a good article.
So this was my first attempt to do comedy. I put in funny lines before, but this was the first, okay, this is just... I was just sitting there racking my brain. We have a contest about romance. I have no fucking idea how to write a romance. And I don't even really want to write a serious romance. And then I just thought, what if there was a super smart satellite? Like we have 3 others. And then, but what if that's laying into it? Because that's not, it doesn't matter at all. There's a satellite. This is just a person who develops really strong crushes on conservative assholes in the media. I want to read just a little bit of it. So who would read it with me?
Me.
Okay, so I want to do the part where she's talking to Friedman, and her name's Maggie.
Is this the one that starts with Pastor Osteen's phone? That one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously you're going to be Maggie.
Yeah.
Because you want to be you want the good part.
Yeah.
So that's the one you want to read, yeah? Okay. So they're calling Pastor Joel Osteen, who's a megachurch pastor and a big piece of shit.
In real life.
Yes, in real life. And their assistant, William Friedman, answers the phone. And Friedman says, Pastor Osteen's phone, this is William. Who's this?
Hi, my name is Maggie. I'm a huge fan of Joel's.
How did you get this number? It's unlisted.
Nothing's really ever unlisted, silly. Will, sorry, can I call you Will? I was hoping we could chat about setting up an appointment with Joel.
What sort of appointment?
Oh, one-on-one, for sure.
Love that the satellite wants a one-on-one appointment. No, I meant, what would the appointment be about?
Oh, well, I have lots of pull in the communications world. I could see about getting Joel some excellent deals on media coverage. Not to mention, we could see about getting bigger broadcasts for his streams.
Well, that is something we are always interested in, and,
But see, I've been thinking, and I think he could do so much more, you know? He's so charming and handsome. I mean, look at that hair, Will. He's like a full-on Adonis.
I'm sorry, Adonis?
You know, the Greek god. Forget it. Doesn't matter. Point is, Joel's a looker. You get me?
Friedman at this point attempts to disconnect, but cannot, as SCP-3809 forces the call to stay engaged through unknown means. I really need to go, Maggie. Friedman hits the end call button several times in quick succession with no effect.
Okay, just one question before you go. How dedicated is Joel to the whole sanctity of marriage thing?
Friedman manages to disconnect by turning off his phone.
Hello? Will? God damn it.
I am a big fan of Maggie. I even used Maggie elsewhere because Maggie's so much fun.
This is a fun character, too. I think the character that could find this dude attractive is right on the wiki.
Well, yeah, that was like the basic
of their weird psyche.
I mean, that was the basic like thing that made me laugh from the very beginning was, like you were saying earlier, like, what is it that makes yourself laugh? You should like probably start there. It's a good way to, you know, it's not perfect formula for comedy, but like it's a good start. And I just thought it would just be so funny. What if this person like had a series of like obsessions about super conservative, like horrible looking, like, because the pastor Joel Osteen looks like a fucking mannequin. Like
Joel Osteen is a perfect choice for this because not only is he rotten to the core, he looks no more human than does Mark Zuckerberg.
Yes.
They're the exact sort of android
Yes.
fucking shit. Dead-eyed shark monster.
I'm a big fan of the part of this where Maggie is breaking up with Joel, and Joel is like, up until this point, their relationship is so like one-sided on the part of Maggie. Joel has like no fucking clue who this person even is, the satellite, and Maggie goes, "This is over, Joel." Joel goes, "What's over? This is a fan. Go back to your wife, you hypocrite." And he goes, "What? I never cheated on you with my wife. I absolutely despise you for making the accusation. We never even met." And then she steals all of his personal funds and donates them to progressive organizations. It's such a funny, like, because, and again, like, you have this stalker character who's clearly, like, not all in her right robotic mind either, because,
yeah,
you know,
totally.
she genuinely thinks that she has a, not only a chance, but a working relationship with Joel Osteen.
I don't know why this is only occurring to me now, but Maggie versus Maddie, that's one of those versus articles that kind of needs to exist. This is kind of perfect. The ghost who calls people on the cell phone and tries to get them to kill themselves,
yeah,
and then the stalker satellite that only stalks horrible people.
Maybe they could be in love. Maybe Maddie could try to kill herself.
Maddie could be like, I could fix her.
Yeah, fix her, and then you have a ghost satellite. I think that could work.
My absolute
That's
favorite
the
line.
She deactivates herself, and she actually shows up as a AI ghost.
Oh, that's good.
My favorite line in this is after she breaks up with him and takes all his money. He says, "Oh my God, what did I ever do to you?" And she says, "It's important you realize I'm not mad at you. I'm just disappointed." Anyway,
It's a good article. I liked it better than Ralston's.
you know what? I love Ralston and I like his writing, but I liked it better than Ralston's too.
This was a pretty close race, though.
It was.
It was the two of you, and you were way the hell ahead of
Yeah.
everybody else.
It was the only time I
It's
was ever
definitely-
ahead.
Dude, CupidCon had such weird vote distribution. My stuff from that, my only CupidCon article is still sitting at plus 77 after like a year. I think it's gained
to 100, but that's it.
I think mine gained like 2 votes over like since the contest.
I have lots of stuff that does not hit 100, guys. I'm very
I wrote a
underread.
24,000 word tale just so I didn't have to worry about winning that contest.
Oh no, Harry's, you know, the good work is, I genuinely do think, one of the best tales on the site. It's the only one I ever.
It's no secret.
No, it's good. Read the good work. All 25k words of it. It's amazing. It's genuinely novel tier stuff. I love Harry's writing when I sit down to read it.
Read Grigori, Karl, and Jay doing them PlaguePJP.
But
Don't do that.
we're going
Okay,
to
we got
finish.
one left.
We're gonna
one left.
Yeah,
By
and-
God, we can do this so we don't have to cut off the emails.
God, we've already been recording for like
We can do this.
2.5 hours. Okay,
we're tough. We're
very quickly.
we're trending upwards. It's almost like a running joke that they keep getting longer.
I know. So SCP, there's another one from Davey Fool, and this is the origin story of Totally Soft. Total Soft? How do you say that?
I would say it's
Totally
soft.
Totally Soft, which is like this little GUI that he made, which was like kind of like toxic troll software, sort of.
It's this bizarre, nonsensical computer software company, and this is the origin story of it. And of course, it's completely absurd. The main thing that ties the Totally Soft stuff together is it's gibberish English that's really hard to understand. The dog movie, which is called Dogum Movie, which is also one of my favorite articles on the site, is a Totally Soft one. And I also wrote one. Anyway,
I've noticed that Harry has a really like soft spot for like bullshit English, like bad
absolutely,
English.
absolutely.
It's the key to his comedic heart.
Like my English is like, I make the least typos out of everyone who was here. If everyone we knew from the SCP Wiki was here, I would still make the least typos in my articles. So I have a soft spot for completely horrible writing.
And like specifically doing it, like not because of mistakes, but it shows a completely different skill set to make a consistently like misspelled thing within a context. Because like there is like a system to the way that Davey Fool writes this bad English.
Yeah, it is really hard, and when I tried to mimic it, I was like, holy shit, this is actually really difficult.
You did a really good job of that. Like, I actually think your article was, like, genuinely some of the funniest uses of, like, that Totally Soft, like, type speak on the site. You really took it right.
I love that.
It's such a good article. That we should have talked about that one, too.
No, let's please talk about Davey Fool. Stop, I'm turning into a corncob.
No,
not really. Okay, let's talk about this article. Thank you.
This article, I really, really like. It's like Davey Fool. Like we mentioned, Harry wrote the Totally Soft and wrote. Have you written a Harry? Have you written a 3 Moons Initiative? I can't remember. I feel like you have.
Yes, it's in Inevitable, so it's it's at the back end of 95,000 words. And this also does my American Totally Soft one does use it a little bit as well. But yeah.
Inevitable.
The thing with like Davey Fool's like GOI things is he like for the most part is the only one who's written for like Totally Soft and for 3 Moons. Like for a while he was the only one who wrote for 3 Moons.
He's so good. It's scary to try to do it.
So good at it.
I love it so much. I've read the whole hub of 3 Moons like 3 or 4 times. Like I'm not kidding.
Same.
And I just a couple months ago finally got the balls up to add something to it. It's so intimidating.
It is.
I think what like for me it's such an enigma because like I feel like when you write your own idea a lot, there's maybe it's just my weird twisted view of the wiki community, but like I feel like people get annoyed quicker and give less attention to it. Like I'm wondering, Grigori, if you've ever experienced that writing like Victim,
No.
where maybe you felt like
sometimes
if people like didn't like it because you just kept writing it. But I feel like Davey Fool was always like keeping people engaged somehow.
Yeah, he's talking about like when you write your own completely unique idea and you keep writing your own idea, whether you've
well, luckily with Victim, I had you and Harry from the very beginning contributing, and then Dissidron from the very beginning, obviously. But like even beyond actually writing them and the bouncing stuff off both of you, and then we got a few more. I was really trying to avoid being the only one writing it, and I've been really, really, really happy to see how many like first timers have come in. I mean, Sumerian just wrote one. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think I liked.
I really liked his. Yeah, me too. And I just am like, wow, what the fuck is going on? But yeah, it was mostly my goal was to avoid being 3 Moons, because not because I don't think it's amazing. I think it is amazing, but like I wanted to make something that would have an impact that other people might want to write for.
Yeah, the accessibility of the BKTM is you just need the concept and you can write it. Whereas
as long as you can mimic the tone,
you really. 3 Moons Initiative takes a lot of effort. It's a very high effort crazy.
It's also weird because like I don't know what like the limit for the 3 Moons Initiative article is, because like I was reading the first few and they're all pretty serious. There are elements of like comedy within, but they're all very serious. And then you get to one where it's Jim Henson makes militarized. What the fuck is this? I love that one. That's actually where I first found out about Wilkins and Wilkins. With the Funkland documentary on Jim Henson. Right. That's where I first found out.
Where I first learned about them.
Yeah, but like I'm like, okay, we have this serious place, like the 3 different Earths have been destroyed and brought into this weird afterlife, like there's suffering, you could fall into an ocean of meat and drown forever. And then you get to Jim Henson is making militarized Muppets, or this weird bug is acting like an evil Santa Claus. I'm like, what is the limit here? And I think that's a bit of a like that's like the strength and also a weakness, because like if I were to rate that Jim Henson one before Dave U. Fool did, I feel like it wouldn't have done well. Whereas Dave U. Fool writing it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
You have to be a master of your own work like Dave U. Fool, and I feel like 3 Moons is just so like it's so him that that's why it's locked out to other people. Whereas Totally Soft stuff is more accessible because it has that, Harry can mimic it because it's, that very like grokkable.
Even Harry can mimic.
Even Harry can write a Totally Soft article. They're not that hard. But no, this one in particular I really like because this is the origin story of this software. You have this eldritch entity that's taken up shop as a he kind of talks like a wannabe like entrepreneur, like hyper capitalist dude,
and also gibberish.
Yeah, and also gibberish. Yeah, and that's part of the charm.
And his fucking name that he chooses, this eldritch abomination becoming a software producer, chooses to name itself P. Hudson Gawk. I love that name.
CEO of Totley Software. Yes.
Yes.
He signs the letter. P. Hudson Gawk, CEO of Totley Software. Yes.
Shout out to everyone involved in that conversation we had about Gawk the other night.
Oh, God. Carry on.
That could get cut. Anyways, no, the good joke in this article is when the Foundation researcher is like, what was your job before this?
I love this.
It expunged. And they were like, okay, what exactly are you obliterating? Expunged again. Noted. And then the eldritch entity goes, should go back to the old job, you think? And then the Foundation is like, no. Totley Soft is great. This is 100% what you want to do. You do not need to go back to that old job. This is amazing. Please keep taking this stuff. And he goes, I don't know. I think I'll think it over.
It's so perfect. They've discovered that basically this is the retirement project of some horrific universe-eating eldritch demonic monster, and they're suddenly like, no, God, oh God, you need to just keep making software. Please don't go back to your old job.
And it's like when it landed in this automobile factory and then took it over, and when it did so, there was like a psychic backlash, and like 247 people that used to be employed there are now, it's like meditating like worshippers trying to increase the range of its psychic waves.
Right, and it sent it a fax before it showed up.
Yes.
It's not a rude eldritch entity. It sent it a fax letting everyone know at the factory that compliance is not voluntary. Complaints may be submitted at appropriate time. Good that you all understand and agree. Regards, P. Hudson Gawk, CEO of Totley Soft Software. Yes.
Oh my God! Expect new CEO, myself, new work conditions, and handsome engagement.
This is like, again, like, no wonder Harry found Dr. Rockefeller so funny. You just have to have a poor understanding of the English language and he will fucking worship you.
Fucking nightmare, like, surreal language is one of the funnier things.
You do realize I have an entire article on the wiki that is just my collation of Jack and Ralliston's typos.
It's a funny article, too. That's one that I've shown my girlfriend because I thought she'd find it funny because she knows both Jack and Ralliston. And, like, she's not, like, really into the whole SCP stuff. But that was one of the articles where she read it and she got the humor and she loved it because typos are universally funny.
Yeah, like, I miss Ralliston's golden age where he made typos every few seconds. He doesn't do it as much. Jack still does because Jack can't be bothered to watch where his hands are going when he types.
It was to the point where I thought they were doing it on purpose.
They might have been playing it up a little, but the results were you just couldn't argue with them. Do we want to bring this on home, folks?
Yeah.
While Grigori's still awake.
Yeah, I know, because I do have to work in the morning. Okay, so we were going to talk about Hog Slice, but honestly, I just want people just go read it. Hog Slice is SCP 60. Well, let me plug it. SCP is 6599, and it is. I think it was the first of either of your like all caps speak, right?
No, I had 5595.
Oh, you're right, Quincy.
This is the Avengers of the all caps.
Right.
Yeah,
but I like this character so much. I've written Hog Slice into two separate things. I wrote him.
Let's be honest. Let's be honest, Grigori. Everyone's read Hog Slice. This is an article that, like.
All right, it's my show though, so shut the fuck up. Anyway, I'm trying to say that I wrote him into two articles because I liked him so much. In the Carpathians and Bathrooms Wiki.
And shout out to the Bathrooms Wiki, which is a collab that all four of us worked on.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little bit more people than four Harry.
What was that? Sorry, Plague? What?
I said there were a few more
people
than four.
Oh my goodness.
Right now.
Oh yeah, well, so
but it won't always be, and we should get it as high as possible.
It's not featured.
Oh, it's
Look
not
at the front page right now.
Oh.
Well, it was for a while.
Yeah.
But I guess time just keeps progressing even when I'm not watching.
Stupid.
I can't find the front page. Help.
No. Okay, so emails. We're going to get through this and we're going to get the fuck out of here. All right,
so let's just... There's four of them, right?
Yeah, so each of us
There's four of us. So
Grigori
and then me and then Plague and then Dune. Sound good? Go.
Okay.
Wait, do you guys have the email open?
I do, yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay.
All right.
I've been following along diligently.
Grigori. Now this is from Fernlom. Hey, Grigori and Carpin. Sorry, Jesus Christ.
Grigori and Carpin.
Sorry, Grigori and Carpin and Harry.
I'm Carpin now.
Fern here. I just finished binge listening to the entire podcast, and I have one question for you guys. Who's the one guest you guys really want on the show but haven't got yet? You.
Harry Blank.
Here.
Harry Blank has been guested on so much, it's not even funny. He should take over. I should give it a break.
It
would be good. I would really like to get Metaphysician on, which seems like it will probably happen soon.
That would be a good episode.
Yes.
All right, Harry, you read the next one.
All right, this is from Gooday, our friend Dr. Gooday from the wiki. A non-GOI episode of Simply Creative People? Color me shocked. Shocked, I say. You are duly colored shocked. But really, comedy-based articles are always a joy to read, and I'm sure discussing them has been equally enjoyable for y'all. Especially with the two comedy kings, jesters, coming on as guests. Can't wait to see what you read this time.
We're the comedy kings. You guys are just, like, replacements. Just saying.
Like, I feel like you're terrified of, like, letting these people down.
What do you mean? Why?
You ever feel like they're gonna see through the facade one day?
Yeah. If they knew half the shit that like goes on in my head, I'm like, oh, this fucking sucks. I hate this thing. Why am I reading it?
No,
just, like, all the
more people should read your stuff, Plague.
In order to make the fall that more precipitous.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, Plague, you read the next one.
Actually, Gizmo?
Good enough.
Yep, Gizmo.
Pokemon.
Gizmo.
Okay.
Gizmo. I'm very much looking forward to this episode. Comedy is my favorite genre across all mediums, except maybe music. I can't get enough of it. I honestly think there should be even more comedy articles on the wiki. I agree. And that's not just because I'm too scared by the horror one.
And all the authors here have written things I found very funny. Well, I'm glad you found all our stuff funny.
Yeah. This is the email continues, Plague.
Oh, question time. I didn't realize. What are your favorite comedy movies? Mine are anything from Louis D.
Funnes.
I'm gonna say funnies because it's funnier that way.
That's what I was about to say.
Back to the Future because it's also my favorite movie because it's so well paced and tightly plotted, but it's also really funny. So Back to the Future, and that's a quick answer.
I love the Jackass movies. I got my girlfriend to watch them all with me, and then I really like Superbad, like those classic early 2000s, 2010s comedy movies. I really like them. Like Superbad, Is the End of the World, like Seth Rogen.
I'm gonna go with a very cult internet classic, Kung Pao Enter the Fist. Do any of you guys know this movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie has a 13% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 14% on Metacritic, and I find it fucking hilarious. This is Steve Odekirk dubbing over a shitty kung fu movie with mildly racist voices, and he edits himself into the movie, and it's an hour long, and it's ridiculous, and I think it's very funny. I've always found it funny.
It's a good pick.
I have a weird... I don't like a lot of comedy movies. I like a lot more comedy shows or stand-up specials, but I think my favorite comedy movie is What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh god, that's a good choice.
And I love the TV show even more, but that movie, I saw that movie and I literally saw it again 3 days later. Like in the theater. Because
it's so funny.
I just needed to see it again.
It's adorably funny.
It's so fucking funny. We're werewolves, not swearwolves.
If I know Stu, this is how he would have wanted to die. Torn to pieces. Actually, I want to amend my answer to In Bruges with Brendan Gleeson, Colin Farrell, and Ralph Fiennes, because that is one of the funniest, most amazing movies ever made. If you haven't seen In Bruges, watch it. No matter what it is you're doing, go watch that.
You know the alcoves? The alcoves? You know what I mean, the alcoves. God, that movie's fucking... It's a very... That's so... That movie is so dark, and I don't even want to say some of the funniest lines because they don't make sense and they almost sound racist, but they're not. It's
a pitch black comedy and it's really, really good.
It's so good.
So we got one more email from Real Sir, and that'll be Dune.
Okay. First, thanks for showing us how cool Parawatch is. I've tried to avoid binging you many at a time with mixed success. Probably because these episodes are so fucking long.
He meant the articles.
With this week's lighter topic...
Because those articles are so fucking long. With this week's lighter topic...
Well, probably only a little when talking about SCP. I'm curious how y'all approach different kinds of it. Obviously, Harry and Grig have talked about this kind of thing from their own perspectives at various points through this podcast, so I'll direct this mainly to Plague and Dune, the actual stars of the show. Is there a different process or headspace for y'all when writing characters like Jeffrey, the Gumball Machine, Hogslice, Damien Woodcock, etc., versus a more situational, surrealist kind of comedic articles? And I think we talked about this earlier, and I answered this one.
I think it's good to have an idea of a character voice. I don't know if we hit on that. It's good to have an idea of what your character is. Like Hogslice, I feel like people mistake Hogslice as just an angry guy.
Right.
Oh, he's trying to prove himself right to other people, but also to himself. He's so not confident in himself that he beats up people to prove his point.
Hogslice has insecurity issues, and I think a lot of people look that. Not towards the end of the article, obviously, because he kind of figures himself out. But he is that embodiment of an internet tough guy. And I think what this question here is asking is the Gumball Machine, Damien, Hogslice, these are characters that are more straight up absurd, very loud, very flashy, very scene chewing characters. And they're asking how that compares to more situational and surrealist comedy. And I think the best comparison that I can make is the type of comedy that Grebo writes in his articles.
Yes.
Where very methodical and very dry and very British and so much better.
We should have read a fucking Grebo. What the hell is wrong with us? So many of those are funny.
We're going to save Grebo for the showcase episode where we talk about all of Grebo's articles and gather around and sing about how good of a guy he is.
Yeah, we're going to do that for sure, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But no, Gribo's articles, they're so like, and that's a comedy that like I really wish I could write, and it seeps
Gribo's
in
so fucking funny
because it's really intelligent, it's really well thought out, and it's like, whereas at least what I'm doing and what Plague talked about, where we're kind of like letting whatever our weirder senses of humor come up with flow out onto a page. That more absurdist, surrealist comedy definitely has a lot more thought put into it. Not absurdist, the more situational comedy has more thought put into the joke construction and payoff, and that's what I'm envious of. Did you guys read Suzet's new article?
Yeah,
Suzette?
milk one.
No.
Yeah,
Not
the
yet.
milk one?
Check it out.
Holy
It's good.
fuck. Jesus Christ. That's legitimately one of the funniest articles that I've read on the wiki. And that is like a technical masterpiece in terms of how to do surreal humor that isn't just like, you're spewing out whatever you find funny caps lock man on the page. That's the type of stuff that I really think separates like my work from legitimate comedy on the wiki.
I think surrealist humor is very hard, but situational comedy and the funny loud guys kind of go hand in hand. I would say, like, if you're gonna write a funny loud character or just a funny character, you have the opportunity to set up these situations. Like, recent article I just did, not gonna get into what it's about, but there's a thing that this vending machine does that sets up a situation that the Foundation employees exploit, and it leads to a funny punchline because of how ridiculous and gross it is. It's just kind of funny. So if you have a loud character, make sure you're looking for opportunities where you could add these like very dry, very clinical punchlines to your writing that don't always come in the dialogue, but in the extra elements. Like we mentioned in the Scordo article, there is, I don't think we brought this up, but after Cillian Fresca is sainted, there's a line at the end of the transcript where that happens where the Foundation's talking about testing the claims as to whether this immortality is true. So little things you could give that really punch it up and keep a consistent tone throughout.
considering whether or not to test killing their researcher to see if he's actually immortal. Just before we close this out, let me just quickly throw a plug out here, since we always plug something that we should say that you should just go read. SCP 6119, Sisyphus Shrugged by Gremlin Group and Lamente. That's Gribo and Lamente. 6119, Sisyphus Shrugged. It's about a boulder. It's amazing.
Oh my god, it's so fucking
like funny
good.
shit, read that article. It's so
I was thinking about that article today at work, like just thinking about how good the dialogue is and how
perfect.
I love Gribo so much, and I think
Gribo is amazing. I love
Gribo is so
know-
funny.
I was the one who
But-
gave him the ending thing with the with how
Yes,
they
you were.
continued it in the end. I'm pretty
Yes.
proud of that.
I was gonna say, if you guys wanted to do like an article showcase, like I think the one author that you absolutely should do above all else is Gribo, because his work is not looked at with the popularity and the critical lens that it deserves.
Maybe if we do an article, a whole thing on Gribo, he'll actually make an author page.
Yes, I think that's what you need. You need to just have him on and just grill him until he writes it.
Yeah, so if
Also, my main organizer with the Bathrooms Wiki was Gribo. He helped me immensely organizing
So
that
good.
project.
I hope
yes,
he
the,
listens.
the
I
takeaway
hope
should
he
be,
hears it.
in general, the two people that we should definitely say you should go read is Gribo stuff and Radiger stuff.
Gribo, better known as Gremlin Group on the wiki.
Honestly,
Absolutely.
so underrated.
And also all of ours, and then everything else. But yes,
well, the,
all right.
Dune doesn't even read mine.
Nobody
What do I
reads. Nobody reads yours.
I don't read anything. Come on, you
Uh-huh.
can't get on me about.
Nah. All right. Anyway, all right. So
Bring it on home, Grigori.
plug your Twitters if you want.
My Twitter, JDune5, I believe. Yeah, JDune5. That's my Twitter.
PlaguePJP.
Hair Blank SCP.
If you follow me on Twitter, you get a lot of Toho art on your feed.
Yeah, I don't
so
really
let's-
understand what Toho is, and I don't want to.
Plug
But-
your fucking Twitter, Grigori. You
can go
Grigori,
lost
it's
somehow.
I can't because other people are talking. Grigori Karpin, and the show's Twitter, which is more important, is at SIMCREAT. And the email address, if you all want to send in any emails, is simplycreativepeople@gmail.com. So thank you both for coming on.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Hoot hoot, motherfuckers.
Hoot hoot, motherfuckers. Papa squat.
Owl bit crazy.
I'm an owl.
Anthropomorphic personification of what? Of a motherfucking owl, moron.